We're preparing. I just need to make sure that we're actually live and then I can start the video. As all you lovely people start populating the room. Okay. So we're on video and we're good. All righty. So I'm going to pull that down. I'm a little nervous about something to my team. Oh, there it is. Never mind. I see it in a weird spot. Oh, I know why my view is different. Okay, I'm going to go play a video while everybody populates the room. So you can all get ready to get started here. So let me do this button. And wait. Sorry, wait. Share sound. And there we go.
My name is Jacqueline Green and I live in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was diagnosed with HCM at the age of 47. I wasn't sure how it was going to affect my life. I was going on just as I normally had. I just decided that I needed to find a cardiologist that I was seeing regularly, but I wasn't sure how it was going to change my life. Once my son was diagnosed, I knew that my husband had no issues in his family. I kind of figured it was probably me.
My name is Jeremiah Green and I'm from Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was diagnosed with HCM at 17 years old. My diagnosis for me was heartbreaking because for a time in my life I felt like handicapped.
So I'm Gian Duddy, I'm from Montville, New Jersey. I'm 21 now, and I was diagnosed at 8. Being told I had HCM was, again, a weird feeling because I was 8, so I was like, okay, I don't know what you're telling me, like, this doesn't really matter much to me. But again, as I got older and I kind of settled with the diagnosis, it put into perspective, like, what it really means.
My name is Rebecca Salberg, and I am born and raised in Rockaway, New Jersey. I was found gene positive at 7, and then I was diagnosed at 10. Life as a kid was always a little bit different, you know, because knowing our family history already, we already knew I was most likely going to test gene positive and have that diagnosis. And then when it ultimately came up, it came up. But, you know, I couldn't run on the field with the kids. I couldn't keep up with the kids, which is a little challenging, especially being a young one, you know, first grade, second grade, and kindergarten. You're just playing around like crazy, but I just couldn't keep up. And that was when my mom started to realize we might have some HCM in there.
HCM, or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, abbreviated HCM, is our most common genetic heart disease. The vast majority of patients with HCM have a life expectancy that is normal or near normal.
Historically, the prevalence of HCM was quoted as about 1 in every 500 people worldwide, but with better diagnosis and better technology to diagnose it, we think that it may be as many as 1 in every 250 people worldwide.
So, you know, it's often called the Great Masquerader because the symptoms of HCM are the same of almost any other cardiac condition.
But the most common symptoms are shortness of breath, effort intolerance, fatigue, dizzy, lightheaded, anginal type chest pain. So they may have chest pain that sounds like a heart attack.
You also need to know your family history because the presence of HCM, the hint for its presence, might be that tragic sudden death of this cousin that happened 10 years ago at the age of 25 when they were out running, playing, whatever. In other words, our hint to the presence of this inherited heart disease that can run in the family may be in the family history.
It's important to know your personal history and your family heart history so that you can rule out if this is something that you have.
I think knowing about their family's heart history again, is insanely important because it's not something that people think about. Your heart isn't something you're aware of all the time, so you might not know if something's wrong. And I think having that told to you ahead of time so you can prepare and plan your life the best you can will help you just going forward.
So what is the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act? This is not a bill that is only for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. There are many disorders, including hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, dilated cardiomyopathy, arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy, long QT syndrome, Brugada syndrome, channelopathies, and congenital defects that affect young people. The Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act trains medical professionals on what these diseases are, make sure that we are looking for these diseases in the well child examination, as well as the sports participation physicals required by many states and jurisdictions. And it is really important for people to know their family heart health history so that they can share that information with their chosen healthcare provider, and appropriate testing can take place to determine if that individual and that family is at risk.
Finding out I had HCM at the age of 7 definitely gave me an advantage to understand my future. Right? If the HCM Act is passed, that gives the opportunity for life. You know, it's 1 in 300. The numbers used to be 1 in 500 when I was diagnosed. So now we know it's more prevalent. Think about how many kids could be saved, right? We have the sudden cardiac arrests on the field when they're doing sports. We can avoid that. And if we can avoid that and save lives, that is more than enough reason that this should be enacted.
The HCM Act will give parents a heads up, give them time to find somebody, and realize that they're not playing the normal game, that they're in a field that's much different than everybody else is in. And it's going to forewarn them, as opposed to us finding out, the hard way.
While we're looking specifically at children and young athletes, the information derived in these clinic appointments will also be able to be used for the parents and siblings of these individuals. So if we find one person with a genetic heart disease, we have the opportunity to impact the entire family, from grandma and grandpa on down to infants. So understanding how we can get access to these families is critical.
The HCM Act is a really special piece of legislation that has the power to improve health outcomes in HCM patients, and in fact all patients who are young with cardiovascular health conditions.
It's very important that we convey the message to our communities and to our lawmakers that these types of heart diseases should be paid attention to, invested in, and that we should commit resources to it.
Genetic testing in the HCM Act, I think we can help prevent and create a different path for a lot of young people, whether they're active or not. That could potentially change their future.
So if we have the opportunity to have a meaningful dialogue with the doctor, the patient, the parent about family heart health history, we're going to be able to identify more families and save more lives. So welcome one and all to Session 2 of HCM Awareness Day. Last year, we did it in one full run from start in the morning to end late at night. We gave ourselves a little break this afternoon. So I welcome you all. I see we have about 70 people with us so far. We're supposed to have about 200 of you tonight. So I'm sure some of you are still sitting in traffic. And I am uncharacteristically 2 minutes early to our 6:30 start. I promise I will use those 2 minutes somewhere else tonight. I do have an unfortunate programming note. I've just received a text message from Dr. Smedira, who, as a surgeon does, got called into surgery and is scrubbing in right now. So he will not be able to join us for the conversation with Marlin and Dr. Hazday coming up later this evening. So he sends his apologies and best wishes to all. So for those of you who do not know me, I am Lisa Salberg. I'm the founder and CEO of the HCMA, and it has been my honor and privilege to serve this community since 1995, before I even really knew what I was getting myself into, you might say. It has been an amazing journey, and the past couple of years alone, maybe about 3 years, have really brought about exponential change to the community for a variety of reasons, most of which has to do with technology and therapeutics finally catching up with us. And we have so many wonderful things we're going to be talking about tonight, some clinical trial opportunities, some cutting edge science. I could probably have made this entire session about 10 hours long, but we all have our our tolerance for time and what can actually be said. So we are going to be brief on some of the comments tonight, and we will be doing many more educational symposium in the coming year with specialty topics coming up. So if you don't hear something that you're really interested in tonight talked about, there are a couple of things we couldn't get all in. Trust me, you're going to be hearing about them soon enough. So now that it is officially start time at 6:30 and I've gotten my preamble already in, I'm going to start with one of these slides, which we've been putting up all day. If you are here, if you have benefited from services of the HCMA, if a family member has been impacted, please consider the HCMA in your charitable giving. This QR code will take you right on into that donation screen. But there are more ways that you could get involved than giving money if that's not an option for you. There are many volunteer opportunities that you can sign up for today. We've had a couple of new volunteers sign up. Thank you for that. We've had some very generous donations today. Thank you for that. Let's keep it going for the rest of the night, shall we? So that's where you can get the QR code and you can find us at any time. Okay. So this is my State of the Union address. It's the first one I've ever done, and it's not going to be like the ones you see on TV. We're going to just talk about some programming and what advances we've made in those programs. I like to use different logos or icons to differentiate different program lines here at the HCMA. Kind of makes life a little easier for us when we're trying to figure out what the next steps are for a particular project. So under client services, which is just under the big old umbrella of the HCMA, and remember our tagline is serving the HCM spectrum disorder community since 1996. So that's who we are. So we've been providing patient assistance via our intake and navigation process, which has evolved over the years, and it's now turning into the HCM patient journey registry, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. It doesn't really have its official icon yet. So we've been doing a lot of work in clinical trial education and recruitment, helping patients connect with the trial that means something to them and might actually be beneficial to the community as well. We're going to talk about clinical trials more tonight. We're not going to talk about every single clinical trial in HCM, but we're going to highlight a few that we think are worth watching and paying attention to, and that probably are going to bring some pretty significant change to the community. The HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence programming that many of you are familiar with. We know that that has expanded exponentially, and you're going to see some slides tonight as to where we're going with that. The Big Hearted Warrior Tour meetings have been an absolute blessing of having to live virtually. We have reached so many more individuals on a much more regular basis, at least once a month, with the exception of the summer months. We are meeting and providing an educational symposium to patients featuring one of our many HCMA recognized centers of excellence. So that program is in its 4th year now, I believe, and it has gone really well, and it's going to continue for quite some time, we suspect. We have our online discussion groups. A number of the participants from that are going to be here today. I see somebody has raised their hand. I should have done this programming note earlier. We are not taking questions by raise of hand. There is a Q&A box. If you have any questions or comments, feel free at any time during the night to drop them in the Q&A box, not in the chat because I can't moderate the chat. I can only moderate the Q&A. So please use Q&A. So some of our discussion group leaders are here tonight, and we have a special new project that we're going to be rolling out this year. Not exactly sure the date yet. We got to get that nailed down. But we're going to be building a workshop group. So you're going to hear about that. Tales from the Heart, a podcast from the HCMA, is brought to you almost every week on Fridays. And I speak with industry leaders and physicians and patients and authors, and maybe we're going to bring in some state legislative body individuals as well. So we're going to be there talking about all things related to HCM, and sometimes it's really deep dives into therapeutic options and studies and research. And other times it's just about living with HCM or the importance of healthcare access or other matters of interest to the community. HCM Academy is a professional education module, or I'm sorry, program that we are a partner in with PCM Scientific, and it's going into its second year. And the format is going to change a little bit for HCM Academy in year 2. It is going to be issued as a webinar that you can get CME credits for. That's going to be launched twice a month in 2 different time zones. So they'll be like within the same 48-hour period. One will be to a US market and the other will be for an international market. So that's still going. A little over a year ago, we started the Lori Fund with the hopes that we would be able to bridge the gap for those with financial needs to get to HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence care. And we are now providing $600 travel stipends to those who meet the financial requirements for the program. Trains, planes, automobiles, hotel rooms, food on the road, gas, whatever you need that is going to be able to get you to a center of excellence for that level of care. We're trying to break down the obstacles that bring you to that high level of care. So please, if you are in financial need and you don't think you can get to a center, call us. Let us walk you through it. We can do the finances with you. And if you qualify, we'd be more than happy to write you a check. And lastly, in terms of programmatics, we have the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association International Program. We got started last year with formalizing our first international flag out there. So Sweden. Props to Sweden for getting some active patients engaged and then working to coordinate themselves into an official organization. And we launched last September, October. I was actually able to be in Stockholm for that. And it was really exciting to see a little baby be born in the HCM community. So we're going to be doing some more work coming up in Q2-3 on the international effort. So please stay tuned for more information there. I want to acknowledge our board and acknowledge that we are going to be changing the dynamics of the board a little bit in a couple of weeks. We are adding 3 new members, and you're going to hear in a moment from Amit Kalia, our current board chair. He has had that position for, it's got to be like 10 years now, and he is going to be moving on, and Gordon Fox is going to be stepping into the position of board chair in the next couple of weeks. And we've also added Robert Lorfink as our treasurer, which is spelled wrong there, and it's in the wrong font. Don't look at that. And we have, as I mentioned, 3 new members joining. I will not be announcing their names this evening, but suffice to say, they come from an amazing background and they have ties to the HCM community. In this case, all of them are diagnosed members of the community. As you can see, we have a wide variety of experiences and expertise on our board. We have people who worked for the federal government for many years, people who worked in pharma industry, finance, all over the place, but all of them have had their lives touched by HCM in one way or another. So thank you to our board. And now we're going to hear from Amit.
My name is Amit Kalia. I joined the board of directors of the HCMA in January 2006.
We are laggy.
I became the chairman of the board of directors in December 2018. In the past years, we've seen financial growth leading to greater stability. We now have a more robust and diverse board membership and a larger, more capable professional staff. This has led to broader patient outreach, growth of our centers of excellence, and it's increased our bandwidth to work with industry to provide directed, meaningful therapies. I cannot tell you how proud I am and how honored I've been serving as the chairman of the board of directors. But family needs, professional responsibilities as a practicing physician, and department leadership continue to demand more from me. And now that the HCMA is more financially, logistically, and organizationally secure than it has ever been, it makes sense for me to turn over the reins. I plan to stay on as a board member and leverage my background as a physician and engineer to support therapeutic development efforts. And I'm excited to be part of the growth and success of the HCMA going forward. Thank you for your attention.
And thank you, Amit, for your time and service. We'll keep you busy in the future, I promise. Now we are going to hear from Gordon Fox, who I had 2 videos today, but for the sake of time, his thank you, I'm the incoming chairman, is not going to be played tonight. We're going to hear about the efforts of the Patient Education Committee next.
Hi, I'm Gordon Fox. I'm the chair of the HCMA's Patient Education Committee. I've been working with the HCMA for over 15 years. I have HCM. I currently live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a retired biology professor, still active in research. And I helped the HCMA launch this committee just a year ago. We've accomplished quite a lot in that year. Our initial work, we set out to review the educational material that the HCMA already had. So we focused on updating and enhancing that material. In particular, the website. We prepared a pretty extensive review of the website, and we expect the website will be revised during the coming year. We've also reviewed lots of other material that the HCMA already had and made recommendations on what can be done to improve or extend it. We launched a blog for the website, which allows us to add short news articles. We've added some, and we'll be adding quite a lot more in the future. From time to time, the HCMA office has asked us to review particular other new material, and we've done that throughout the year. But now that we've accomplished the goal of reviewing really everything that we already had on hand in terms of materials, we're looking to the future. We're developing guidelines for developing the education work so that we can ensure that the range of people who need our services really can receive those services.
I had to cut him a little bit short. And now I'm going to ask Bilor Daus to come to the screen with me. And I'm going to stop doing the screen share here for a minute so she can join me. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's a wonderful day and you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. It helps to have an amazing team behind you. So could you tell us a little bit about your committee and what's going on there? We've been talking a lot about HCM Act today. So tell us a little bit about the committee's work.
Sure. So as you described also, let me just say, my name is Bilor Daus. I'm on the board as well as, the chair of this wonderful committee. And we have very passionate, as you said, a lot of industries or the, educational background, medicine, etc., represented in our committee. And you talked a lot about the HCM Act, which is our most exciting initiative actively that we're working on. But that's not the only thing we're working on. So the Legislative Advocacy Committee was formed in October 2019. And we are, including myself, total of 8 active members who are all volunteers. And we have you and Julie Russo directly from HCMA as part of our team as well. So let me just quickly go through who's in our committee, and then I will give you kind of an outline of the other interesting and wonderful initiatives we're working on, both at state and federal level, okay? So Rosemary Conlon, who is the vice chair of our committee and also the co-lead of the HCM Act. And the others alphabetically in our group are Scott Boracas, Lindsay Davis, Isaac Rodriguez Chavez, Bill Rossi, Dr. Aaron Troy, and Judy Zerton. As I said, we're all actively working on a multitude of projects other than the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. Some of our initiatives, and part of today, is that HCM Awareness. Second topic that we're getting involved in and looking into, reproductive rights and access to quality medical care for HCM patients. The other piece is the Medicare Part D developments and drug prices, quality of generics, and we are recently starting to look into how to improve the quality of care and access to care and medicines in the age of continued consolidation of healthcare services. The current consolidation, as we all know, is impacting the quality of delivery of healthcare and limiting access to care and to the much needed medications. And these are all issues that need to be addressed at all levels.
Absolutely. I'm going to do a screen share here because we got to celebrate something tonight too. So on the screen now, and there were updates throughout the day. So this slide had to change from this morning. These are the states that have either recognized HCM Awareness Day as the 4th Wednesday in February, either by law, resolution, or proclamation. The stars get the law, and we have Ohio and New Jersey. Connecticut is a resolution, and there's a picture of that one right here. New York, resolution, Colorado, Texas, Iowa, Indiana, Arkansas, California, South Dakota, and Massachusetts. Those two just came in today. And we were anticipating hearing from a couple of other states today, and they may still come in. However, Michigan and Minnesota, I think they canceled their sessions today due to the inclement weather. So we didn't hear from those guys today. But this has been a phenomenal step in the right direction. And wait. Illinois is in the house. Breaking news. I would change it on the slide, but then I'd have to go into a different mode. So there you go. Thank you, Julie. Great timing on that one. So bravo to all. This is a great entry point for us to now go back to these individual states that recognize HCM Awareness Day as important, to then say, now let's take this HCM Act and take it to the next step. So we've got a lot of work to do in the committee. And Bill, I thank you for your partnership, your friendship, and your amazingly hard work all through the pandemic, getting all of the base science done and organized in reports. We have a lot of reports. If anybody wants them, they're on the website.
We're ready. We're ready to roll.
We are ready to go. All right, Biller, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks. We'll talk a little bit more. I wanted to show our recent Center of Excellence map here. As you can see, we're getting a lot of dots populated here. And we're going to have to use a bigger map because all of the dots are starting to merge together. At this time, we have an estimated 55,000 patients managed in HCMA recognized center of care programs around the country. And we have some other programs that are pending evaluation or under evaluation right now. So in case you're wondering what we do here all day, we take a lot of phone calls and we field a lot of interest in our Center of Excellence program. And Stacy Titus does a great job of trying to keep all of this organized. So the states over here, or the programs here, we don't give the name of the program until they're approved. Bethlehem, Los Angeles, Des Moines, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Louisiana, Nebraska, New York, Alabama, DC, Ohio, all this whole list, we have inquiries in. We have some international programs that we're trying to figure out how to get involved with. Applications in process include the Canadian program, which we actually reviewed a while back, but we didn't have policies in place to deal with the internationals. And all of these applications, this is your coming up next list. What did we do since the last HCM Awareness Day? New York Presbyterian Columbia joined the program. Leahy joined the program, but Tufts left. So now we're Leahy, University of Colorado, and most recently, Le Bonheur Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. So it's a very active process, and we're bringing that together. One of the things that we need to work on here at the HCMA is something called clinical trial outcomes. And part of what we're going to talk about later, or coming up next, is a better integration of your health information that you choose to share for research purposes with us, that we can use this information in new and different ways, frankly, important ones. As you all know, if you have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, the vast majority of you have good days, bad days, and average days. Typically, when a clinician or a research coordinator is asking you, how do you feel? They try to classify you in one of 4 New York Heart Association classes. But we don't stay there all the time. And that's a bit unusual for heart failure. Most people with forms of heart failure, they get to a certain point and that's how sick they are and that's where they stay. We don't do that. We bounce around. So, oops, these slides kind of shifted a little bit. My apologies for that. I just noticed. What we started doing was asking you the question exactly how I just mentioned it there. Tell us on a good day, New York Heart Association class level, what can you do? On an average day, what can you do? And on your bad days. We found that only 5 individuals out of 37 consecutively asked from the beginning of January to the end of January, that those individuals, only 5 of them were consistently in one New York Heart Association class. Good day, bad day, average day, they always felt the same. Everybody else was bouncing all over. They could be a New York Heart Association class 1 on a good day, a 2 on an average day, or a 3 or 4 on a bad day. So we need to understand this mechanism a little bit more. And we feel that with our reach, with our medical advisory committee, who I don't have a presentation from tonight, we're going to do a special presentation from them later in the year as we kind of finesse our project line a little bit better. We want to help solve this problem. Why? You need to design clinical trials to meaningful endpoints to the patient. And we need to better define what those endpoints are so that we know when a drug is successful a little, successful a lot, or really is not doing anything to improve our quality of life at all. And this has been a challenge for the pharmaceutical industry to develop drugs for us because of this variability and not having a really solid, great endpoint that everybody agrees is specific for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So we are going to be partnering with pharmaceutical companies, genetic therapy companies, the FDA, basically everybody who wants to play in this game, researchers, clinicians. We're all going to be working together collaboratively to hopefully fill an unmet need. So before I introduce Nest, Maureen, you can come to screen now. I do want to tell you that the only thing that we did not get finished for HCM Awareness Day that we thought we would is the HCMA's annual report. We hope to have that out to you on Monday. There's just a couple finishing touches that need to be placed on it. But most of the information that I've just gone over, the programs, you'll get the numbers attached to how successful we were in each endeavor, as well as seeing that we hit a milestone last year. It was the first year the HCMA had received $1 million in funding. And that is a really big milestone for a kitchen table.
Gradient behind that. So I am so grateful to have participated in her care and to have gotten these results that Marlin can tell you more about.
So I'm going to pivot the story a little bit, and we all have our choices and our reasons for doing things. So Marlin, excuse me, was at Advent Health in Orlando with Dr. Hazday and his program, and she had her ICD put in there, and her care is managed out of there. But her anatomy was quite extensive and quite unique, and we know that Nick Smedira from the Cleveland Clinic does travel to Florida on about quarterly to practice at Weston. So she consulted with both surgeons and opted to have Dr. Smedira do the surgery at Weston. And that was in April of last year. And I happened to be on vacation at that time in the Florida Keys. And I'm following her on Facebook, and I'm seeing that she went in for her surgery. And the morning that I was heading to the airport, which, by the way, I have to drive right past Weston to get to the Fort Lauderdale airport from Key Largo, it was her birthday. So I called Craig Asher at the Cleveland Clinic, Weston, and I said, can I sneak in and see her? And he's like, sure. I'm like, okay. So I was waiting in the hall because her swan was being removed. And Craig walked in her room and said, somebody's here to see you. No, she couldn't turn her neck because she had just had the line removed. And I just said, happy birthday. And she's just like, what are you doing here? So I gave you a birthday surprise. Yes, I don't do that all the time, people. I can't. Just happened. The universe sent me there.
For sure. For sure. Well, that was one of my best birthday gifts. Lisa and Dr. Hazday, as I always tell my family, and I think I will say until my last breath, I truly feel in my heart that you guys are my angels on earth. I know that you guys are. I'm sorry that I get a little teary, but you guys know how this journey has been. So yeah, just like you mentioned, Lisa, I was being seen at the Tufts Medical Center when I was living in Rhode Island by Dr. Marin. And then shortly after I came here, when I had my second child. So that was in 2014. I started with just regular cardiologists, but never in my wildest dream did I know that there was even a HCM specialist cardiologist here in Central Florida. So all along my brain was, it's over there in Tufts Medical Center. So I remember December 23rd of 21, right before I met you guys, that I went to my last cardiology appointment. And this was with a regular cardiologist by all means. And I came home crying. I just knew that I was dying inside. And I remember telling my husband, I know that I'm dying. And all I kept was crying and crying and crying. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, every single year I feel worse. And I ask questions and it feels like I'm getting the runaround. I don't think I'm getting the treatment that I need for my condition. I ask about medication. I ask about nutrition. I ask if there's any changes. And as a matter of fact, it was quite interesting. And the reason why I share this, because I'm sure many patients are going to be watching this, whether it's tonight or at a different time. Hear your inner voice, because that voice will never, never steer you wrong. If it wasn't because I listened to my inner voice, because I remember vividly, the cardiologist, I'm not going to name names, right? But he said, let's do your echocardiogram. And if I find anything unusual or that requires attention, I'll contact you. Mind you, this echocardiogram was on December the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, or 23rd, one of those 2 days. And my follow-up wasn't until February 23rd. Big chunk of time, but that February 23rd, when I got the call to confirm the appointment, I was pacing back and forth already at the hospital, because just like Dr. Hazday shared, he had that placed in me right after I went to see him. So I was just like in awe. Like, this doctor supposed to know what he's doing. And if he didn't, he always knew that I had HCM, because that was obviously part of the documentation. A phone call could have saved a whole lot of nonsense. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to say the word that I have in mind.
That was very gracefully done. I would expect nothing else from you. I'm from Jersey. We would have used a different term, but
right. And I'm Puerto Rican, so there you have it. So
there we go.
You know, it's amazing how the process went quickly, and I am so grateful, because now, actually, today or yesterday counted a year from the ICD. It's been 10 months since the open heart surgery. And one of the things that brings me the most joy is that even though I'm still in the process of recovering, I was able to play basketball with my son, which was the coolest thing ever, because obviously I couldn't even walk from like one side of the house to like a stop sign, which wasn't even that many feet away. And just to be able to play, granted, I mean, I'm a little out of shape because I'm still in recovery, but to be able to just throw that ball, see his smile, see my daughter cheering us on, and just, it's just truly amazing. And I know there's still work to be done. And thankfully, that's where all the medical staff comes in and all the pharmaceutical staff comes in. But needless to say, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Dr. Hazday, and every single person that is definitely involved in the care of HCM patients.
Thank you.
HCM.
Well, it has been a privilege, Marlin.
It has been a privilege, and it has been, you know, you think, well, somebody called in and then a phone call was made and then it was just done. No, it doesn't work like that. I remember the first time I ever spoke to Marcos, who called right about 2 weeks before one of the HCM summits, the international summits that Dr. Barry Marin holds every about 4 years, 3 to 4 years. He's like, I think I want to do more HCM work. I'm like, well, then you need to get to Minnesota and you need to come to the summit. And if you're serious, then we'll talk there. I didn't think he'd show up. Then this gentleman comes up. Hi, we spoke. I'm from Orlando. I'm like, he's doing the work. He's doing the work. And it was a different situation when he first started. It was a community-based cardiology practice that has now evolved into a very, very busy practice at Advent, and it's going so well. So that long-term relationship led to the ability for me to get on the phone and go, I think we have a problem here. Can you step in? And I don't do that often. So it's real when it happens, and I'm not just crying wolf. And Marlin was featured in our HCMA annual giving campaign, and I asked her to be here tonight because timing worked for her. She found us in time. Our systems were set up. We could just plug her right in, and it was easy, as it should have been. It wasn't complicated. This morning, if you joined us, you heard a story that didn't end so well because we didn't have the time to get there. Early diagnosis, HCM Act. These are the ways we're going to get families into care more succinctly around the country, because I can't talk to every single person. We have to create a system that supports them and have ways for people to get to care that makes sense. So I just want to highlight this interaction and how this one worked out so well. We know you're not cured of HCM, and we're going to be here for whatever comes down the road. And hopefully new therapies will come to even get you to feel even better than you are today. But I just want everybody to hear your story and share in a little bit of the joy that it worked.
It did. And I'm grateful for that. Not only have the journey been, like you mentioned, very smooth, but because of the situation and how you provided resources through the your website and being able to have everything as far as her stay with the Centers of Excellence, we were able to actually set my mom up, which I want to say thank you publicly, because she was able to see an HCM specialist, and in fact, she does have HCM. So if it wasn't because I would have found you guys, and therefore, how things turned out, now she's being cared by the correct doctors and being cared by the right centers and people that definitely understand us. So this is not just my blessing, but it's also been a blessing for my children, for my husband, and even my mother and her husband, who's been so supportive throughout it all. So thank you.
Well, that took a turn I wasn't expecting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Hazday, thank you to you and your entire team. And I truly value our partnership and our friendship. So thank you.
We do as well. It's an honor to be able to participate, and I'm really excited to be interacting with so many experts around the country. All it takes is a phone call, and I often get people who have written lots and lots of articles on this to give me advice or discuss a case. And we see very complex cases daily, and I really appreciate that support.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, I'm going to say thank you and goodbye. And we're going to go back to the slides now.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing your story. I know you've just inspired a whole bunch of people, and we'll get to some of those comments shortly. So that's the day I visited her. And actually that's before I got there because the line's still in her neck. But that was a fun visit. It's one of these again. I'm here to remind you that what you just heard didn't happen because it just happened. It took money to build systems. So donate today to help us build a better future so we can help more people like Marlin and ensure that our entire community is getting the care that they need. So again, the QR code, or just go to the website for HCM and you can figure out either how to sign up as a volunteer or donate. Now we're going to get into some heavier stuff. Okay, we're going to talk about some clinical trials here. And over the next few slides, I am not going to give you an all-inclusive every single clinical trial ever. I'm highlighting a few tonight. They're the big ones. They're the big players. There are some other ones coming. And I think it's important to know what's on the horizon. We are supposed to have two companies come talk to us tonight. Imbria and Tenaya Therapeutics are going to come and talk through their own slides. So I'm going to do a couple other ones. First, I want to talk about Cytokinetics Sequoia HCM trial. They're looking for 270 participants. It's a randomized trial. It is a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. The purpose is for treatment. This is a phase 3. Okay, so let's stop for a second and talk about the phases. Phase 1 is safety. Phase 2 is concept, and it's a small trial, and phase 3 is the larger trial. The hope is at the conclusion of a phase 3, they would have enough information to submit to the FDA for labeled indication, use of the particular agent. So we're coming close to the finish line. There are more spaces available in this trial if you are interested in getting more information on Sequoia HCM. I should say that we are using aficamten here, which is the agent number that's written there. And we're going to be using aficamten, which is a myosin inhibitor, to see how it reacts to not only obstruction and quality of life. It has a slightly different mechanism than mavacamten, so we need to evaluate the safety and effectiveness of this other variant of a myosin inhibitor. HCMA will be working with Cytokinetics and doing some recruitment. And very transparently, when I say we're working with a pharmaceutical company on a clinical trial recruitment, it is under a contract that we're going to be doing outreach to the community to let them know about the trial. Once we've educated you on the trial and pointed you in the direction of a clinical site coordinator, we're out, and your communication is through your site coordinator at that point. So I would encourage anybody with obstructive HCM who is interested in the trial to take a look or call us, and we can talk a little bit more about it, or you can reach out to Cytokinetics directly at medicalaffairs@cytokinetics.com, or ask your Center of Excellence if they're participating in the Sequoia study. Bristol Myers Squibb is continuing Discover HCM. This is a bigger trial. It's 1,500 participants. It's a prospective trial for 5 years, and we're looking for real-world observational outcomes in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So you can find more information at clinical.trials@bms.com. This is going to give us more information on this particular population, and this is going to run all the way through till 2029. So when you look at the timelines on some of these clinical trials, it does tell you that these pharmaceutical companies are not just here for today. We're in this together for the long haul. And it's really important that patients participate in trials, or at least if you're not willing to participate, hear them out, hear what the concept is. And when the right one rolls around for you, you'll know it and you'll want to participate. I personally have been in at least 6 clinical trials in my life. So I encourage you to do the same. So Bristol Myers Squibb has another trial. This is a smaller trial. It's a phase 2A. It's looking for 36 participants in a non-randomized trial for treatment. They're looking to see the efficacy, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, safety, and tolerability of a new agent. And they started the study just in January, and they'll be hopefully recruiting over the next couple of months. For more information on this, you can visit clinical.trials or email at clinical.trials@bms.com, or you can go to clinicaltrials.gov and get information there. Also, BMS has the Odyssey trial, which is looking at 420 participants. It's randomized, it's double-blind masking, so double-blind placebo-controlled study. It is for treatment. It is looking at mavacamten in a randomized double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial to evaluate MAVA in adults with non-obstructed HCM. You guys have been asking about non-obstructed for a long time. Here we are. It's time for the non-obstructed patients to get involved in bigger ways. You may recall that there was an early study called Maverick run by Myocardia before BMS acquired the product and the company. There are a few patients that we are aware of that were in the Maverick study that had some pretty significant improvements. So we're going to want to look at that in a bigger population, and this is a bigger population. But 420 non-obstructed patients in a clinical trial, that's a big number and a big ask. To those of you with non-obstructive HCM, we haven't had a lot of drugs made for us. We haven't had a lot of procedures made for us. We need to step up in numbers and participate in these trials. But the challenge is going to be harder here because 70 to 75% of those with HCM have obstruction. So 25% of the community has to step up to hit these numbers. So it's really important that you listen to the opportunities that are provided to you. If you choose to participate, great. If you don't, we understand. Okay, so do I have Whit from Tenaya here with me? I'm looking for, there he is. Hello, Whit. I am going to let you present and I'm going to advance slides for you. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine. Welcome to HCM Awareness Day. Happy to have you live with us.
Thank you for inviting me to participate on this very important day and for everything you're doing to help patients and families and help connect them with the care that they need.
Thank you so much. So can you tell us what you're up to? Because it's kind of exciting.
Very much so. Happy to. And we did send in some slides.
They're up already. They've just been color branded to look a little bit different. So
got it. Didn't recognize it.
Didn't recognize your own slide, but it is your slide.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are working to develop a gene therapy for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Gene therapies are targeted to specific genes. In this case, our program, which has the research name TN201, is directed at the gene MYBPC3, which is one of the most common causes of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, as I know you know. And I'm happy to announce an up-and-coming clinical trial. This will be the first inpatient trial of this gene therapy called MyPeak-1. People that have HCM due to MYBPC3 mutations, the problem is that gene mutation prevents the heart from making enough of the MYBPC3 protein. And the protein is critical for normal contraction and relaxation of the heart. So the goal of this therapy is to directly address the underlying cause of the disease in these patients by replacing the gene, delivering a working copy of the human MYBPC3 gene directly to the heart muscle cells so that they can express the MYBPC3 protein and restore normal heart function.
Okay, I think we have a graphic of that. So
yeah,
what is gene therapy?
How do we get the gene? Yeah, what is gene therapy? How do we get the gene to the heart muscle cells? To do this, we rely on a particular type of virus called adeno-associated virus, or AAV here for short. It's a virus that occurs naturally, doesn't cause disease by itself. And importantly, we take out the working guts of the virus. The viral DNA is actually removed. And what we're using is the protein shell. You can think of that like the FedEx box that's going to deliver the therapeutic to the cells. So we put the therapeutic inside the box. This is the MYBPC3 gene and a special sequence that turns it on in heart cells. The therapy can be administered intravenously, and importantly, it only needs to be given once. Once the gene is in the heart cells, it lasts there. The expectation is it will last for many years after the single dose. So the AAV gets to the heart cell. It's the red lined cell there. The nucleus is shown in blue. That's where all the DNA is. So the AAV delivers the gene to the nucleus of the heart muscle cell. That gene can then express the normal MYBPC3 protein. That protein then is incorporated in the sarcomere, which is the set of proteins that causes the contraction and relaxation of the heart, so that it restores normal heart function. So that's how gene therapy works.
You make it sound so easy. Is it that easy?
It takes quite a bit of work. And now we will be asking patients to participate with us in the work of determining whether this approach is safe and effective.
So have you established the inclusion and exclusion criteria thus far?
Yeah, so here we're introducing the first inpatient study of TN201. Again, it's called MyPeak. And the primary goal is to evaluate the safety and the tolerability of the single IV dose of TN201. And we're focusing on adults who have non-obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy due to mutations in the MYBPC3 gene, either pathogenic or likely pathogenic gene mutations. So the age range is from 18 to 65. To be eligible to participate, patients must be symptomatic and must have an ICD in place already. We plan to begin enrollment in the trial in the third quarter of this year. We are currently working with a number of U.S. centers of excellence to get the study up and running. This has been reviewed by the FDA, and currently it's being reviewed by the various safety and ethics committees at the centers of excellence. So for those of you in the audience who might be interested in learning more about these trials, you can reach out to us at this email, patientadvocacy@tenayathera.com.
I think that's your last slide. So we're going to be bringing somebody else in a minute, but I will leave you here for just a moment. If anybody has a brief question, because we could keep Whit all night talking about gene therapy, and we're trying to be cognizant of everybody's time so we don't go too far over tonight. I can just tell you that the concept of gene therapy first came to the HCM community in the form of the Dannon's project. So Dannon's disease is in the HCM spectrum disorder community. Some of our families actually have Dannon's disease, not sarcomeric HCM, and the mechanism was a little different. So they did a genetic therapy, and they're in trial right now. It's not over yet, but that was the first time I had really saw the concept up close. And to date in the United States, if my understanding is correct, there's been approximately 4,000 individuals treated with a genetic therapy. And can you just talk a little bit about what the space looks like now?
Yeah, absolutely. Those numbers are correct. And specifically for patients treated with this particular type of gene therapy that uses the AAV virus to deliver the gene therapy. One of the big success stories is Zolgensma, which is used to treat a neurologic condition called spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA. That's been approved by the FDA and has been used in several thousand patients to date. There have been other gene therapy approvals by the FDA, and it's increasing the numbers every year, and many more in clinical development at various stages. And because they're all using the same package, the AAV package, we are learning more and more about the safest and best ways to actually deliver the gene therapy.
Fantastic. Somebody wants to know if they're too old for this study at 65.
Yeah, 65 is just at the cutoff, so 65 is eligible.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misread it. I'm too old for the study. There is a cutoff. What is the reason for the cutoff?
Yes, so we won't always have these age cutoffs. This is the first study, and we will be developing TN-201 for other patients as well, older patients, younger patients, and patients with obstructive disease. For the purposes of assessing the safety and tolerability in this first in-patient study, it was important to narrow the age range so we could look most directly at the possible benefits of this therapy. So we will be doing New York Heart Association class. I know you've talked about the challenges of that endpoint, but it is one of the things that will measure exercise capacity and other things. And so if we focus on younger patients, we know that most of the symptomatology is driven by the HCM and the MYBPC3 mutation, with less of a contribution of other types of heart disease that have their onset in older people.
I have to admit, there's one thing that you keep saying that keeps confusing me. I've always called it myosin binding protein, so you're MYBPC3, and now we're MyBPC3. I'm like, oh, that actually does shorten it a little bit. So
it's a little easier to remember, I think, too.
Well, there's actually a lot of my's in HCM, isn't there? Myosin head, Camzyos, my. But there's all these my's in there. So I think we want to give it to somebody else, to be honest with you. We don't want it anymore. No more my. Okay. Is there anything else we should know about this trial? I don't see any other questions pending here. Oh, I lied. Here comes another one.
Thank you for everyone for your interest and attention. Do reach out if you're interested in the trial or you know someone who might be interested in the trial. But there's certainly other ways to contribute to drug development and gene therapy development as well. We do have other trials going on, not with therapeutics, but a natural history study for children with MYBPC3 mutations. Less is known about childhood onset and the natural course for that early onset. So we have a study dedicated to that. We also have a study going on looking at the immune system's recognition of the AAV in patients that have MYBPC3 mutations. And this is ongoing at Centers of Excellence now. So please do reach out.
We're going to be talking a lot more about genetic therapies over the next year. In fact, we just signed a contract for a really cool educational program with whiteboarding. So whiteboard education, explaining the process. That should be ready, I'm going to guess, around May or so. So we're going to be doing a couple of other very targeted webinars on genetic therapies in the coming year. So you'll have an opportunity to speak to other members of Chennaya and other companies that are coming to this space. It's interesting that, you know, when something happens, it all kind of cracks at once. So there are different companies that are targeting different genes or different mechanisms of delivery. So we're all learning together. It's really kind of cool to see they're friendly competitors. They're all trying to advance science together. And I've been really impressed with how collaboratively competitors can be because they're working towards the betterment of society. And it's really been wonderful to see. Okay, Linda, I'm going to hold your question. We have plenty of time to ask them that later. So I'm going to see if we have Paul Chamberlain with us now from Imbria. Paul, are you in the room? You were going to be a little bit later.
I am.
Hi, where's your camera?
Hold on.
There you
there
are.
I am. All
Hi,
right.
welcome to HCM Awareness Day. And thanks for taking some time to explain the Improve HCM trial to our community.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm actually honored to be here on this very important day. So nice to see you. Thank you.
So why don't we talk a little bit? We have some of your slides here. Can you walk us through what Improve HCM actually is?
Yes. So maybe if I take a step back, just to introduce the drug and the company. So we're Imbria Pharmaceuticals. We're a small company based in Boston, Massachusetts. And we are doing clinical studies with medicines that treat the heart with the main goal of helping the heart produce more energy for the heart to use in its daily activity. And I just have 3 slides here. One is describing the study. One is showing the mechanism of action, which is very interesting, and then some contact info at the end. So, like Lisa said in the beginning of this section, phase 1 study where you're looking at safety and efficacy primarily. Phase 2, you're looking at sort of proof of concept, initial proof of concept and safety and efficacy. This is a phase 2 study. And in particular, we're looking at patients with non-obstructive HCM. So Lisa mentioned the work going on in non-obstructive. This is for non-obstructive HCM. And the primary objective of the study is evaluating safety and tolerability, but then key secondary endpoints. We're looking at exercise capacity using a treadmill. We're doing some imaging at Oxford in the UK, looking at MR imaging, looking at energy levels, and I'll get to that and the mechanism of action. We're looking at cardiac function. How is the heart working using echo, and then biomarkers. So a very nice study for this drug. The structure of the study, it's 5 visits, and I think of it as the beginning where you have 2 visits. They're very close together. They can be a week apart. The end of the study, 3 months later, because you're being dosed for 3 months, and then 1 visit in the middle. And what we do in the baseline and at the screening is your standard, vital signs, medical history, but that's where we do the exercise testing on the treadmill. It's where we do the echo. We do some of the assessments, quality of life assessments, the KCCQ. Some people may be familiar with that. And we repeat that at the end. So it's very straightforward. Our drug is a tablet. small tablet, 200 milligrams, and we take it twice a day. And you can see that we're looking for 60 patients, right in line with what Lisa described for concept studies. The study is ongoing, and we have another couple of months of enrollment. So I'm happy to say we are almost completing the study, but there is time to still enroll. And in my third slide, I'll show you where to enroll, what places to contact. The inclusion exclusion criteria, just very basic here, 18 to 80 years old. In the last description, there are questions about the age limits, and these are always sort of stage appropriate. We have other studies going on, and so that's why we're able to go to 80 years old. There must be no outflow obstruction, thus the non-obstructive HCM, and you have to be able to walk on the treadmill. So for example, you can't have hip pain that would prevent you from walking on the treadmill. And I think the last thing that I'll say about this is that it's a randomized control study, 1-to-1, niraparib or placebo. And that's sort of the overview of the study.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is this stuff?
Yeah. So this is a great question. And Lisa's really right in sort of the collaborative effort in this field amongst, different companies, different investigators working on this, because these therapies are not all mutually exclusive. So potentially one day, these drugs could be combined, or you could take more than one drug, which is what happens if you have diabetes, if you have hypertension, sometimes even cholesterol. So we're happy to say, or have a very different approach. So I said in the beginning that our drug, or what we're studying, are ways to increase the amount of energy in the heart to make it available for cardiac function. And how we do that is we shift the metabolism, what fuel the heart uses, we shift it from fatty acids to glucose. And because of this, our body produces more energy when we burn ATP. And this is important in HCM for the following reason. HCM, amongst its sort of many properties that you find, the genetic components, the structural components, it's also has a component of lack of energy for the heart. And as a matter of fact, there's literature that shows that energy deficit sometimes precedes the hypertrophy and early on stages. So we're trying to correct that energy deficit, and we're trying to help the heart meet its energy demands. And what is it used for? What's energy used for? Well, we all kind of understand when we contract our muscles, flex our muscles, that uses energy. So that's definitely part of the equation. When our heart relaxes, it uses energy. When we maintain all of sort of the things you talk about, ion balance, calcium, potassium, sodium, et cetera, that all requires energy. So this is, in a nutshell, this is what our drug does. It increases the amount of energy for the heart. And I don't have it in the slides, but we have some very interesting data that we presented at the ESC last year that actually shows this increase in energy in patients with type 2 diabetes and obesity. So that is the concept. And if we just move to the third slide, this is really how to get in touch with us. So we have 12 sites in the US, centers of excellence, and 1 in the UK. They're listed here. The ones with the asterisks are not up and running yet, but should be online in the next month or so. But all these other ones are available. So these are all listed on clintrials.gov. So you could go there, see where the sites are. The study coordinators' phone numbers are there. And if you aren't able to get in touch that way, you can always contact us through HCM, either through Ross or Linda. And I think the email is PM, project manager, at 4hcm.org, or on the clinicaltrials.gov lists the contact info for Imbria, which is simply info@imbria.com, and then we would get you to the right place. So,
or you can go to the HCMA directory and look at the site that you want to go to and just call them and say, I was in the HCM Awareness Day thing and I want to hear about the Umbria trial. Get me a coordinator, please.
Perfect. So that's great. And that's the end of my slides, and happy to take any questions.
So right now we don't have a question, but if anybody has a question for Paul, now would be the time to ask it. We have a lot of excited people and some nice comments we'll get to in a little bit here. But if there's any specific questions for the Improve HCM trial, we'll be taking them now. I know a lot of people have been very excited about this. I know somebody who's getting tested in 2 weeks to potentially join as well. So it's an amazing time in HCM to have so many different mechanistic opportunities to act with some precision. We've been stealing everybody else's meds for 60 plus years. And rather than repurposing them and making them fit into square holes, let's build a square molecule. And that's what we're doing now. We're really focusing on cardioenergetics and power and just mechanisms and terms that we didn't use 20 years ago. They just weren't there. Okay, so I've rambled a bit and we have a question. What level of symptoms are required for this study?
Yes, that's a great question. So in fact, any level of symptoms, we ask that you have symptoms, and it could be whatever your typical symptoms are. But there's also a pathway into the study if you don't have symptoms. So that would be sort of a non-symptomatic patient. I can tell you that approximately 20% of the patients come in without symptoms or without strong symptoms. And the only difference in the pathway is some of the CPET, some of the exercise testing requirements, whether you have symptoms. So it's sort of all comers for symptom-wise.
So don't overthink. Talk to a clinical trial coordinator, discuss your individual symptoms, and let them help you find if this is the right trial for you or not. If you're not sure, have a conversation. You're not committing to anything, just talk about it. And that's all we can ask right now. So we would really appreciate if you do that. Okay, Paul, we're going to move on to our next piece of conversation. And we're going to talk a little bit about our discussion group. So if our discussion group leaders could pop on camera right now. And following that, we're going to discuss Drill Dr. Hart. So I want to talk a little bit about who are some of our discussion group leaders, and we'll have you all come up into the party zone here. And I'm just trying to get my screens all set up. We're going to talk a little bit about what the project has been like and how it's been evolving. So, okay, so we have a number of our discussion group leaders with us here tonight. I see Trudy and Karen and Amy and Deborah. I saw Gwen earlier and Greg, and I think we saw the other Paul too. So I'm going to go to stop screen share. I'm going to move this over here so I can see you all. Okay, so I'm just got a weird view of my page here. So I'm making sure everybody who's on camera is here with us. The room is growing. So you know the saying, it takes a village. Well, welcome to some of the people who hang in my village. So for about 3 years now, we've been putting on these online discussion groups, and they have various topics. But the most important part of the discussion groups are you have the ability to speak with other big-hearted people at least once a week, if not more so. Some groups meet monthly, but there's always something going on every week, probably 2 to 3 times a week. So you never have to feel alone. And you can always bounce it off of somebody on social media, on our Facebook page. You can call the office, or you can join a discussion group. So I'm going to go a little round robin. I'm going to pick on my fellow transplant folks because it's a threesome on that one. When I can not be traveling, I sometimes will be running an HCM transplant pathway group. But the ones who've got my back are Karen Klimczak and Amy Mann. So why don't you guys unmute yourself for a minute? So can you guys tell me a little bit about your experience with the discussion group, either leading into transplant or after transplant? Karen, I'll let you go first.
Sure. I joined post-transplant and, it's been just such a wonderful resource for me to connect with others who really understood what it's like to go through the process, the pre-transplant of lifting through that waiting period, and then where I'm at now, which is post-transplant. I'm about 2 years post-transplant, and having a group of like-minded individuals that just understand when I'll bring up something about a medication or about, something like traveling right now at this day and age, and being a transplant, an individual that's had a transplant. It's just wonderful to get the feedback from others as to what their experience is like, what they've navigated, and just to hear that support of like, oh yeah, me too, I've gone through this. This is what my experience has been like. Or can you share a little bit about what it was like when you went in for your annual appointments? So it really just feels like a very supportive, open community of individuals who are just there to really connect and figure out how to navigate this path, as individual as it is, but together.
I agree. Amy, what do you think about the process?
Well, I think that this support group is absolutely amazing because when you hear the word transplant, it's one of the loneliest moments of your life. And I think that having other people to kind of guide you through it. So we have a mixture of pre and post, people who are in the midst of listing, people who are waiting, people who have transplanted. And I think it's just a really wonderful way to like support each other because it is very lonely. It's scary. There's fears that we have we don't want to talk about. It's very just like HCM, every transplant person does it slightly differently. So that always is very interesting to me. And I would say that this is a very safe place, this group. We're kind of selective. It's not for everyone. If it's not for people who are just curious or have just been diagnosed or want to know what it would be like to have a new heart, this group is for people who have gone through all the treatment options and yet still, either start to have heart failure, go into advanced heart failure, or have other HCM related symptoms which are not compatible with any quality of life. So this is for people who are really starting the listing process. They're caregivers, and we kind of support each other through all of it. And we all have different issues. And we are actually, Karen and I don't know, I mean, Lisa's here too often. She's often there, but she's a busy bunny right now, as we can see. But we've been, really engaging with the group and really trying to find out what the members of the support group want to know about. So we're looking at in the upcoming days or the upcoming meetings of addressing some of the things that people are really interested in knowing about or concerned about or want to discuss. Like one of the things we're thinking about is, what it feels like to have somebody else's heart, like the kind of the donor aspect, that side of it, which can be really challenging emotionally because there's a lot of physical and emotional stuff that goes along with transplant. I think I've gone on long enough.
I think you've explained what we talk about once a month as a group, and it's a tough group because not all of our members make it to the other side. So we've lost a few, and that's hard too. But we were there fighting with them the whole road, and it's a community, and we're there for each other. So thanks to my transplant pathway group people. I'm actually going to tag on Deb right now. Deborah. So Deborah's double tasking tonight, but we didn't bring up the other project that we're working on with her. So I'm going to take a moment here to give it a little pitch. In the coming weeks, you're going to see some new additions to the HCMA website in the directory listing area for our centers. Deborah has a small firm that does provides a service that we are actually contracting with her for, and that will be to really clearly lay out the accommodations and accessibility at each and every center. So where are the hotels? What are the fees? Are there Airbnbs nearby? Where can you get a reclining chair? Where can you get a mechanical bed if you're going for surgery so you can have the lift in your bed? What are the restaurants to go to and maybe the ones to avoid? What's the weather like during times of year so you can pack properly? Little like tips for travel. So Deborah just started this project recently, and the first one I got to look at this week. I was really busy. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. But that's going to be an upcoming feature, and we're going to slowly build out every center to have this very robust travel guide associated with it. And then we'll update them periodically. So we're always working on making it a little bit easier to access care. And this is just one more service. So Deb, can you talk a little bit about your discussion group and some of the things that you've experienced as a discussion group leader?
Sure, absolutely. And I'll just quickly give a shout out to my business partner, Marjorie Bell, who I think is watching. And our business is called Reasonable Accommodations. And our goal is to be able to provide guidance on travel for, we started with the goal of helping people with HCM who need to travel to the centers of excellence for their care. And we're also interested in helping anyone with a disability who's traveling. And we're starting with this project for the HCMA, and we're extremely excited about partnering with Lisa and company on that. So I just wanted to quickly mention that. As far as my discussion group goes, my group is called Life with HCM, and the name is general, and it is meant to be general. We talk about anything and everything from medications, how we're feeling, surgery, pre-op, post-op, what to expect during a procedure, devices. It's kind of a catch-all in a way. So it's really an opportunity for people to come and vent. It's an opportunity for them to come and listen. It's an opportunity for them to come and learn. And, like Amy and Karen were saying about the transplant group, it's a really supportive environment. I've been so not surprised, but just amazed at how willing every participant has been to share their story, to share what's going on currently in their life with HCM, to share the stories of what's happened in their journey in the past and how it can help the other people that are participating in the group. So I usually do my group on Thursdays at 7 p.m. once a month. And so I hope you'll come and share your story with us sometime soon. In fact, we have a group tomorrow night, so go to the website and sign up if you'd like to participate.
Catch them while you got them.
Exactly.
So I'm going to pivot to the Guy team, Greg and Paul. Let's go over to you guys for a little bit. So you do the all things myectomy, and Paul has also doubled for me in the pre-myectomy group. There's going to be some other room for other co-partners on that one too. We'll talk about that in a minute. So Paul, Greg, you want to talk a little bit about your group and who finds themselves in the all things myectomy group these days?
Greg, you want to lead it off?
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. So the All Things Myectomy group, Paul and I are the discussion group leaders there. We kind of find a little bit of everyone pre and post myectomy there. We're very fortunate to have a lot of patients return, some as soon as a couple weeks out from their myectomy, to come back to our group and share with the members of HCMA that come in there seeking information in preparation for their surgeries. And we answer all kinds of questions there as it relates to preparation for your surgery. What's your recovery time like? What's some things my family members can do for me, or what am I not allowed to do, and how long will that last? And what are the guidelines generally given by clinicians pre, post, and we try to be very open. It's a very welcoming group that Paul and I run, and we try to really let the group drive the conversation based upon their questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things when you're diagnosed with HCM and when you get to the point where you're considering having a septal myectomy is most of us don't know anybody in our locality who have HCM, and we don't know anybody who's had a septal myectomy. So this is an opportunity to get together with people from all over the country, and we've had people from Australia, from Singapore, all over the place, and talk about the questions that everybody has. And we hear a lot of the same questions from session to session, but we also hear a lot that we've never heard before. And as Greg said, we try to be as open as we can be. And I think a lot of the benefit is not having Greg and I answer the questions, but having other people in the group who have had experience tell what their experience was. And we try to get a discussion going between everybody who's in there. You know, I think as Amy said with transplants, when your cardiologist tells you you ought to consider having a septal myectomy, that's a pretty lonely time. So getting together and talking with other people, I think, is very helpful.
I think one of the things that's critically important to somebody going for any invasive procedure, a device or myectomy or alcohol septal ablation, or even starting a new medication, having realistic expectations sets you up for success or failure if you have unrealistic expectations. So we want to make sure people kind of know what's coming around the corner, because there's nothing worse than a surprise when it comes to your health, right? Kind of want to know what might happen. And the more you do to talk about it in advance and prepare for it, you're emotionally ready for the decisions that you might have to make. You're as physically ready as you're going to get. And you've really worked on building up your internal resiliency with good tools and good reinforcement with somebody there helping you through the process. So thanks, guys, for that. And now I'm going to go over to my electrified girls over here, and we're going to talk about devices with Trudy and Karen. And Karen, so let's just start with saying, you know, sometimes your Facebook feed is enough to make my heart skip a beat or two. So you've had another appropriate shock since last we spoke. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thank you. Yes. Glad to be alive.
I was going to say you look pretty good for a darn near not here person. We'll just leave it at that. So Trudy, Karen, tell us about the ICD discussion group. Who wants to start? Trudy, I think you're on mute because I can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I deal with the symptoms.
Oh, I'm sorry. You deal with symptoms. I'm sorry. I had that in the wrong group. So I'll go to Karen and we'll talk about ICDs and then we'll pop up to symptoms. Okay.
And I do co-host with Seidel.
Oh, Seidel, yeah.
Yes. So we host every Thursday, well, one Thursday a month, and our meeting is also tomorrow night. So I'd welcome anyone who has any questions about ICDs to join. We have people who have had their ICDs for many years, as Seidel and I have, and people who are considering getting ICDs who have been recommended, aren't sure, they're on the fence and they have questions. We've got people who have just received their ICDs, and generally we ask for questions and try to answer those questions, each other, help with their own experience.
Fantastic. Yeah. Somebody with an ICD just walked in the room here with me, but he's coming on camera in a few minutes too. So thank you for running that group. I'm going to pivot up to Trudy for a minute. So we talk about symptoms, not the thing we always want to talk about. So in some cases, I guess, sounds maybe like a little bit of a reporting or a complaint group, but people really need to understand what normal is and what a symptom is and how to articulate that. And you're back on mute, hon. There you go. Oh, no, you hit it again. Don't touch the keyboard.
Okay. Symptoms are those annoying things we face every day. It's the shortness of breath. It's the tiredness. It's, it's a lot of things that we just sort of have to cope with. And it always helps to talk to somebody else who maybe have some suggestions of how to ease something. And that's kind of what we do. We just sort of talk. And because we're all different, and that's one of the most difficult things about our condition, is we're individual. One size does not fit all. So there are some things that we do come together with. And one is that when we are diagnosed, we feel like we are alone. And one of the wonderful things about my group is every now and then I see somebody who came in all tensed up and nervous, all of a sudden relax when they looked around and saw what I like to call other mutants. Because it's better to be a mutant than it is to have a genetic defect.
Okay, we were an X-Man fan. I got that. That works. Okay, thank you, Trudy. I'm gonna pivot. First, I have to say hi, Eloise. Hi. Wait, hi, Eloise. Can you hear me? Hi, honey. Yeah, she's so cute. Hi. Okay, had our kid moment. So Gwen, let's talk to you. So number one, Gwen has worked with the HCMA in a number of different capacities. Today, she is here as a discussion group leader, and we're going to be working on a new project that's not exactly a discussion group, but it's going to be a workshop group. We're going to talk about that for a minute. But Gwen, can you talk about the emotional wellness group that you run?
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. It's really interesting listening to this discussion. As Trudy just said, there are a lot of common problems. Excuse me. A lot of common problems. But I can almost guarantee you that in a lifetime of living with HCM symptomatically, I've never met a patient who has not struggled from the emotional and mental toll this disease can take on them in a variety of ways. I know when Lisa and I first talked about this discussion group, it reminded me of when I was first diagnosed now over 40 years ago. And the cardiologist said to me at the time, this may have a bigger impact on your psychological and mental health than it does your physical health. And I believe he was right in many ways. So we have an emotional support group where we get people that were diagnosed in the prior week. We get people that were diagnosed decades ago. Some have had ICD, some have had transplants, some have had myectomies, some are on drugs. So that really isn't the focus. And so we try to narrow the discussion and we break up generally in groups of two so it can be very personalized. We talk about stress management a lot, but the whole goal that I have and I hope to achieve is to really help everyone who attends to feel that what they're going through is a normal, understandable reaction at their diagnosis or any step along the journey. And so we really focus on that a lot. A lot of bravery comes about, a lot of tears. And like others have said, I think feeling that someone hears you, someone understands and has walked that walk with you, regardless of their age, their gender, their race, their ethnicity, is really quite powerful. So for those of you that feel that this might be of help to you, our next meeting, it's always the fourth Tuesday of the month. So our next meeting is 7 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, the last day of this month. So that's February 28th.
Okay, so let's pivot now. No, I'm coughing. You sent it over to me. So there's a couple of things that we're trying to do here at the HCMA. We're always looking for new ways to raise awareness. You heard Gordon mention earlier about putting more blog posts out. You've seen some of our content shift and change. You've seen our graphics change. You've seen our newsletter change. So there's all these little changes. And what we're looking for now, and Amy kind of inspired me a little bit, as have other Reels and TikTok and other forms of social media that have educated me on disease states I didn't know anything about, and got a peek into somebody else's life and saw some commonality and some big differences. So we are going to have an application process to join us in a workshop group. There's a couple of names missing off of the slide as to who's going to be helping coordinate this workshop. Putting together a 140 slide deck. There's a couple of areas I caught. So Amy is missing off of this slide, but she's going to be one of the individuals working with Gwen and myself. One of our community members, Eric Swanson, Joey Graham, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. He might pop in for Otto later. Bill Rossi, one of our committee members, and Meyer. Oh, Meyer, I always pronounce your last name wrong. Bianchi? I said that wrong. I'm sorry, Meyer. Each one of these individuals has come to the HCMA's attention, or my attention personally, because they either are writers, they're TV personalities, they've had their own podcasts before, not on HCM, on like completely different topics, or they're just really, they really want to use their social media platform to raise awareness of HCM. So what we're going to do is we're going to take in a number of workshop participants. You will have to fill out an application to apply, because we're going to teach people from each other's experiences, what's working, what isn't. How do you tell your story in a minute bite a time, or 2 minutes or 3 minutes? Is your chosen medium written? Is it pictures with story captions? Is it you talking? What's your way? We want people who want to use their social media platform. So we're going to want to know what platforms you're on, which ones you're willing to share your personal story on. You may not want to share your personal story on LinkedIn, but you want to share it on TikTok or Reels, through Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, wherever you want to share it. So we're going to look at all of these different options, and we're going to start meeting probably March, April. I know we threw a date out there, but it might not be the final one, where we're going to collect the applications. We'll let you know a week ahead of the meeting whether or not you've been accepted into the program. If you're not in on the first try, please don't get angry with us. We're trying to do this in a controlled growth situation. So if we don't get you the first time, we'll come back and get you the second time. So we're going to build a playbook. And in October, I haven't talked about this yet, October 21st, we're coming back with a live in-person meeting. And as one of the features of the meeting, we're going to share some of the things that we've learned about how to best engage with social media in a safe and effective way. So telling a story is one thing, but educating people with fact is something else. So we want to make sure that the people that we're bringing in know where to use the resources from, to say, hey, if you want to learn more, go to this place or that place. We're not looking to, claim that, hint water cures hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. That's not very responsible. So we want to set up a framework for people to be able to share their story factually and support. And Gwen is going to be assisting the HCMA in building out that training module and deploying it in October. And then maybe we'll have other groups. So all good, all good. So Gwen, do you want to comment any further on that, or did I give a good explanation?
No, thank you, Lisa. I'm really excited about this. Obviously, it's sort of like it enables us to reach more people. And also, every patient has a different version on this, and really learning the art of storytelling so that you connect with either your reader, if you're writing, or an audience is really the goal of this program. The one thing I would just add to what Lisa said, for those of you that are interested, please follow for more information, is you want to give some really good thought as to whether you're ready and actually willing to tell your story. Among ourselves or on the Facebook page, or even where we are tonight, we have a lot of kindred spirits, but we're also going to be teaching and training for those to sit on possibly a committee in Washington, or to write an op-ed, or to go back to their community and speak to a church. And so just realize that as you become more confident, that you really want to be honest with yourself if you're ready to be public, and who's going to hear you once you're on social media, or you have a podcast, or you start getting beyond the confines of our group here.
Fantastic. I forgot to mention Victoria Wyatt is going to be part of this group too, and you're going to be seeing a little bit of Victoria later in a few minutes. Okay. So if you want, that we've dropped the link into the chat box, so you can see where you can go right now and register if you're really excited and you want to get in there first. Go on. Don't turn us off. Just keep listening. But you can go right there and you can do that. Discussion group leaders, from the bottom of both of my hearts, thank you so much for all you do all year long for the community. I applaud you all and I thank you. And I'm going to go off to my next talk now. People, I'm tired and I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go to California, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Okay, so we've got that. I am going to fast forward this, and we're going to bring Matt Martinez up on screen here. You don't need to see me from 2010 with my very different haircut. So we've got this going out to, we're going to go right to here. We're now going to talk about Drill Dr. Hart. And my nephew's going to scooch over here with me, and I'm going to zoom out my camera so he joins me. But we're going to play the original 2010 first edition of Drill Dr. Hart. This is 2010, and I was the camera person, people. So no comments on quality. But we're going to show you the video, and then we're going to break down the drill. We're going to go out to, where did it go? I thought it was 5 minutes. You don't want to hear me talk. Here we go.
She's not kidding. Coach, back to the breathing. Legs, focus up. Okay, we're in Dr. Hart. Dr. Hart. Alex, I need you to go get the AED. Marilyn, take my cell phone, call 911, tell them we're in the back gym, rear entrance, please. Herman, Michelle, go wait for EMS. Okay, tell them where we are in the gym. Lauren, go get the trainer. Francesca, Amanda, go take the rest of the team, get the volleyballs out of the gym to the corner with the rest of the team, please. Nice job, ladies. Next drill, bring it in, please. Well done. Dr. Hart on 3, 1, 2, 3. Dr. Hart!
So we're going to watch the entire play now without any pauses.
She's not kidding. Coach, back to the breathing. Legs, focus up. Okay, we're in Dr. Hart. Dr. Hart. Alex, I need you to go get the AED. Marilyn, take my cell phone, call 911, tell them we're in the back gym, rear entrance, please. All right, Herman, Michelle, go wait for EMS. Okay, tell them where we are in the gym. Lauren, go get the trainer. Francesca, Amanda, go take the rest of the team, get the volleyballs out of the gym to the corner with the rest of the team, please. Nice job, ladies. Next drill, bring it in, please. Well done. Dr. Hart on 3, 1, 2, 3. Dr. Hart!
You have just witnessed a Dr. Hart drill. Okay, again, I was the cameraman. It was 2010, and this is my nephew, John. He's got to come in a little closer to the microphone. He came in person. So, Dr. Martinez, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us why it's important to drill for a cardiac emergency?
So a really important discussion. I love that we're including this because all the other things we do for preparation, for player and health safety, for your loved ones. This is maybe the most important thing we do. So there are so many parts of that video that are valuable, and I've critiqued it before, but there's a plan. You prepared. There's somebody in charge, and that person in this case was willing to tell people what to do. So it had a plan for everybody: who's going to start CPR, who's going to get the AED, and all of that sort of happened simultaneously. There was also direction. So it wasn't, hey, just call 911. It was call 911, we're in the back gym, it's a cardiac emergency. Because if they just show up at the front of the school and you're in the back soccer field, that doesn't help. So the practice part of this is to work out all those details. So you figure out how long it takes, you figure out what went wrong, the directions, and then you find out about your team. Do they know CPR? Are they scared of the AED? By the way, where is the AED? Is it locked up in the principal's office? All of those things are part of the practice. So I think you plan, you prepare, and then you practice so you can better plan and better prepare. So I think the practice part of this brings out all the other subtleties. And it's more than the athlete. You might help your uncle, your brother, the coach, the referee, somebody else. It's not just the athlete you're helping. We've given away several dozen AEDs, and so far we've not saved an athlete. We've saved lots of other people, but no athletes. So I think it's bigger than just your athlete. It's bigger than just your recreational sport. I think it's really about the community, and you can really impact your community by doing this sort of easy planning. And Drill Dr. Hart Online gives you a really nice playbook to get this organized. It's plug and play. You download it, and it gives you a whole process for how you can deliver this in your own community.
So, John, why did you even come up with the idea? Why did you make me film the kids?
Yeah, we started toying around with the idea around 2008, 2009. I was going for my USA Volleyball level 3 accreditation. I do a lot of work with USA Volleyball in the New York, New Jersey region. And, we found this gap in service. Most organizations, schools, sports facilities have a cardiac response team, a cardiac response plan, but there was a hole in between getting to that spot in the process. And that's where your players, your students, and the other people involved have to get to that cardiac response team to get things moving, to get things working for that individual. And Lisa and I kind of tag team together, with the limited resources we had back in 2010, and put this video together. And obviously, what we witnessed on Monday Night Football about a month ago, re-spurred the moment and the movement. And when 28 million people watch a Monday Night Football game, things happen and things start to move again. And it was a great time to revamp the program.
So over my shoulder on this side are pictures of my sister, John's mother. John witnessed cardiac arrest when he was 13 years old, and it was his mother that was the victim. And we did do CPR, and we did get her back for a period of time, but she had her arrest in her sleep. So this is professional, because John's involved with professional or with collegiate level and club level sports. He's also a teacher. But he knew what needed to be done in the moment because he watched a moment. And putting all of that together kind of tells the whole story, of where Drill Dr. Hart came from. And it doesn't just have to be used for sports teams. It can be used for classrooms, workplaces. It can be used for a sports team. And it can also be used for community events like houses of worship, your rec center, if you're in a retirement village. If you're in a retirement village, you really need to be doing Drill Dr. Hart and know how to do this. We want you to go get CPR certified. We want you to know where your AED is, and are you certified to use your AED? Do you have to be? Are you covered by Good Samaritan coverage in your state? We're now working with a federal legislator to put coverage countrywide on AED utilization and having nationwide Good Samaritan coverage. So that's working its way down the street in Washington. Let's hope something moves there positive this year, and let it be something that's going to help our hearts. So we're putting this all together. Now I'm going to go back to a screen share real quick, and then I'm going to ask you guys a couple more questions. Oh my goodness, we're going so fast here tonight. Feel like it's taken forever and nothing at a time. So it's the Drill Dr. Heart Challenge. So we took the 2010 plan, we reamped it for social media, and here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the website and you're going to go to Drill Dr. Heart and you're going to download the playbook. And it's PDF. You can, all the questions that you need to ask in your planning meeting are right there for you. You can get all the resources you need from that space. So you're going to drill the plan with everybody who's in that scene. If there's 10 people in your office, get everybody together for just a few minutes and have a conversation about it. Who can do what, who's CPR certified, where's an AED, is there one in place? If there's not one in place, how long is it going to take one to get there? And you may want to reconsider buying one. They're about $1,000. So I'm going to give you a chance to win one for free here tonight. But if you need to buy one, they run about $1,000. You want to drill it with your team. Everybody knows their role. You saw Coach Titus do it. And then you're going to film it like I did. And then you're going to upload it to our platform online and you're going to register. And then you're going to share it through your social media feeds. And out of each of the 4 categories that I named, the winner with the most engagements will win an AED, 1 provided by Atlantic Health and Dr. Martinez's team, and 3 from DeFib Tech. So we thank them for sharing their resources with us so that we can get them out into the community. And that's Drill Dr. Heart. Dr. Martinez, what do you think about the program?
I love it. And I think there's always this anxiety over the cost of the AED, and they last about 10 years. So it's about $100 a year. And some of the Drill Dr. Heart could be a fundraiser. If you have people come, everybody throw in a few dollars, $5 or $10 to show up. You can learn hands-on CPR and how to use the AED. We just did this yesterday with the Professional Referees Organization in Atlanta. So these are the world's most prolific referees. They do the World Cup. They do all of Major League Soccer. And they wanted to learn more about how to do hands-on CPR and AED. And it's not that expensive. It took us about an hour and a half to give all that information to them. This is something everyone can do. They really should do. And then honestly, it's an opportunity to talk with your own school, your synagogue, your church, your YMCA, wherever you spend time to figure out if they already have one in place. And if they don't, this is an opportunity to do one with them, drill that. And we would love to give out another AED for somebody who needs it.
Absolutely. John, you want to give a last shout out for participation? Was it hard to do?
No, this is easy. Again, I agree with it. Dr. Martinez and Lisa, it's, we can all get involved in this. We can all save a life. Hands-on CPR is not a, something that, you cannot do. Get your hands on somebody right away in that proper manner. The laws cover you in most of these situations. So, go ahead and be part of this movement. Don't be afraid to save somebody's life. Somebody's going to thank you for it well down the road.
So I like to go back and look at 2 situations. Hank Gathers, March 1990, and Damar Hamlin, January 2023. There's 33 years between these 2 events. Their causes were likely different, HCM versus commotio cordis potentially, but the cardiac arrest was the same and the response was completely different. If you want to go and look online for the Hank Gathers footage, it's out there. It's hard to watch because Hank literally dies in front of us and they're holding his hand as he dies, but he's dying all the same. Nobody started CPR. There were no AEDs in 1990 and he lost his life in front of a lot of people and on film. And 33 years later, the NFL had seen that film. I'm sure of it. I'm sure they have seen that. And they did the exact opposite of everything that happened in that first event. They had trainers, they had EMTs, they had everybody right there, hands on him in minutes, AED by his side right away, good CPR being done, and an emergency response plan that you can bet was drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled. And we know how that ended. And we are so happy for Damar.
And we know that, the NFL, you're not alone if you're practicing this. The NFL practices this twice a year. In fact, it's required. As you know, I'm on the NFL medical committee, and twice a year, the teams have to drill 2 scenarios. And in this year, one of the scenarios, just by divine intervention, was commotio cordis. And how do you get the pads off, and how do you deliver, and how do you get it all done? So it's really quite amazing that this all came together. But it really isn't that amazing because they prepped for it, right? They prepared for it. They drilled for it. They knew exactly what to do. So when you're doing this in your own community, remember the NFL is doing it, the NBA is doing it, Major League Soccer is doing it. You're not alone. We should be doing, all of us should be doing this.
Well, I thank you both for joining us tonight. We're going to pivot off to another topic right now. Some of you might be interested in hanging around. Some of you might want to turn away for a little bit because we're going to do something a little different now. So thank you. Oh, we're going to do a man called Otto next. The other part's coming up in a little bit, but if you want to hang out for a little longer, you can watch Dr. Roberts' anatomy lessons coming up tonight. We're going to show 2 sectioning of hearts after our man called Otto discussion. So thank you, Dr. Martinez. Thank you, John. And now we're going to bring in our Otto discussants. So my team can tell me who my Otto discussants are. Oh, there's Mike Rizzo. Hello, Mike, and Paul and Amy and Kevin. Oh, there's Kevin. I'm like, Kevin's a big white spot. Thank you, John. Give my best to Jet. I have to come see him, and to Xander, of course, and to Kimberly. But there's a new baby in the house, so he's got to go home now. All right. So important news before we talk about Otto in detail, and I'm going to bring up a couple of topics on Otto. These are some photos from our first viewing, which took place on February 2nd in Morristown, New Jersey, where we all came together and we watched Otto together. And we gave out, I'm not grumpy, all those with HCM are not grumpy like Otto t-shirts. I'm heading on an airplane tomorrow to go to California to do another viewing in the South San Francisco area. And there are a couple of seats left available. So if you're in the San Francisco area, please do sign up and join us. So Otto is, do I have the other side? Yeah, there's the new one. So Otto is kind of our moment in the public limelight where people are talking about HCM, so much so that as we were moving through the resolutions through different states, and I was going to different state houses and zooming in and giving testimony, I won't say what state it was. One of the committee members said, well, why should we recognize HCM Awareness Day? And one of her fellow representatives said, well, did you see the movie A Man Called Otto? Tom Hanks plays a guy with HCM. It's serious. The movie worked. We got public awareness in a way we never thought of before. So I'm going to bring up my panelists here, and I'm going to ask you guys some questions. So how many of you cried through Otto? Show of hands. Come on, be honest. Yeah, I saw every hand there. Okay, I can zoom back in here a little bit so I don't have to have my whole room. So yeah, it was a tearjerker. And the first time I saw it, I went fully expecting to be angry that they didn't do HCM justice. But there's so much in that movie that's kind of subtle that you absorb after you've watched it a while, and you start to see yourself in different ways. So I don't even know who the hell to start with here. I'm going to start with Mike, because he couldn't come see it with us in person, but I got a picture of him in the theater with his HCM t-shirt on. And then I got a text message, I'm crying. So Mike, let's break this down into, Alex is here. Yay. Alex is here. Dr. Alex DeFaria from UPenn, who is coming to us today wearing his I'm an HCM patient hat too. And I watched Otto, but we can see that he's outside of the medical center because I recognize that building. And hopefully he'll be able to talk to us soon too. So Mike, let's talk about the diagnosis scene. Did you think that Tom Hanks played a realistic, stoic diagnosis scene when he first heard the words hypertrophic cardiomyopathy?
I think he knew deep down that something was wrong. Like so many of us, who, before our diagnosis, knew that something was going on, but couldn't put their finger on it, or maybe couldn't describe it properly. So I think deep down, he knew that something was going on, and maybe relieved to finally hear a diagnosis.
And others agree with that. There's a little bit of relief in the diagnosis for those who was like, what is going on here? I don't understand it. Some of us were a little young to have that aha moment. Amy and I were both diagnosed relatively young, as was Alex. So that was a little different. So let's pivot on a little bit. There's a scene in Otto where he has to disclose to the girl he's got a crush on that he's not 100% healthy, that there's something wrong with his heart. Did that resonate with anybody? Give me a show of hand and then we'll just talk. Amy, Kevin. So we'll start with Amy, then we'll go to Kevin.
Okay, so I just thought about, there's so many things this movie made me think about, but HCM is this invisible disease, and it's got this plus sizes and curses to it, right? So we can kind of blend in with the public, but we have something that's wrong with us, and we have different symptoms. And sorry, my dog. So I sorry, I let him out, or he's going to keep doing that. And I think it's really, it's a real blessing and a curse to have an invisible disease, because sometimes you want to hide it, but then sometimes you need somebody to know there's something wrong. And when it comes to kind of sharing it with people, you know, for me, as you said, I was very young when I was diagnosed, so I always knew I had it. And I didn't really have that aha moment where it was like, I have to tell people about it, because everyone always knew I had it. But I have children who are now young adults who have gone through that, and how difficult it is, and how there's a feeling of you're less than, that you're not going to be accepted, that, you know, who knows what your future is going to be. And that's I think it's a really challenging thing to kind of like confront. And, you know, the rejection that you might get because you have this condition and you don't know that what's going to happen in the future.
Absolutely. Kevin, you want to comment?
Love what you just said, Amy, and that I went through a similar experience. So I've known I've had it for a long time, and Lisa and I have known each other, I think, since high school. And
oh no, honey, it was before that. It's Hibernia Firehouse with the parents.
Right, our parents were fire people and whatever. My mom had the disease, and I hoped I didn't have it, and so Lisa would periodically check in with me and say, "Are you getting checked?" And I'd say, "Oh, sure, yeah." But I hid my symptoms for many years. I mean, it was getting worse and worse. And I was very active. I would ride my bike every day, 29 miles a day. I was this buff guy. You know, I had the wife who looked great and I looked great. But I just kept getting worse, and I hid it from her for years. And I just thought it was, oh, well, I'm not exercising hard enough. Like I didn't think it was, I mean, I have an advanced degree. I'm a professional, yet I couldn't draw a connection between the two until it got to the point where it was undeniable. And I went to see Dr. Martinez at Morristown Memorial. And when I told them like how I was truly feeling, their eyes, like I could see their eyes bulging. And I was like, okay, now I'm in trouble. But, you know, that comes from our upbringing as young. I was the youngest of 7, Irish Catholic family. You didn't complain. And you were quiet. And so this, you know, this group really helped me to see that being a part of a big group like this was so amazing. And I learned so much just in the last year and a half, 2 years. So I'm grateful.
So let's go to Otto for just a second. And when you had to like tell somebody else, like, I have something going on, whether it's a work colleague, whether it's a partner, whether it's a family member, is there a bit of, you know, having to be a bit more vulnerable than maybe you want to be when you admit something like this?
It's like Otto, you go hide in your house, you know, when he ran from his neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a telling scene. Paul, did you want to comment on the disclosure?
Yeah, I think it really depends on what stage of your life you're in when you're diagnosed. I was diagnosed when I was 59. So I think it would have been a lot tougher if I was diagnosed when I was in high school or shortly after that, because there'd be a lot of situations where you wouldn't want to disclose it. By the time I was 59, I kind of had the mindset, tell people and be open about it. And I found most people reacted fine to it. But I think it would have been very different if I was much younger.
That segues beautifully into Alex. So
Sorry, guys. It's loud here. I just finished reading Mavacamten Echoes all day, and I'm waiting on the bus to get home. So you actually get me as I'm about to get on the bus. I was diagnosed when I was 15, and I denied it to myself for a while that I had symptoms, and I went to military school, so I couldn't do the physical training anymore, walk laps around the soccer field instead of play soccer. And so it was hard to hide in that sense. And, I remember telling my now wife the first time about it, and it's tough. Perfect, the bus is empty. I've grown a lot because of it, and I'm not a very shy person anymore. So, when I don't have to watch the metal detectors anymore because they have no other way. But when I have to say, hey, I can't go through a metal detector because I have an ICD, that was another disclosure time. So, there's really, you're right in that it's a kind of disease that you can live with and people don't see it visibly, but there's definitely things that you go through quite regularly that make it quite obvious that you have HCM or something like this.
Okay, we're going to let Alex ride the bus right now. So for those who do not know, Alex Feria is an HCM physician at UPenn, and he was diagnosed in his teens, as was his brother. He wears different hats on different days with us. So let's go ahead to another scene in Otto that really, really got me. And for those who haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry, spoiler, we won't blow the context, but the bad condo guy comes into the neighborhood in the car, and he starts kind of hinting that he knows that there's something wrong with Otto. So his health information has been disclosed without his knowledge to this guy who's trying to get the condos so he can build his own condos. Bad guy. There's always a bad guy, right? And Otto gets pissed. He's angry and his heart rate goes up. How many of you with HCM who are present here today have had an experience where something in the world has pissed you off and you're like, oh my God, this is it. I've done some damage. I went to the emergency room once from my old employer that way. Anybody recognize the hitting the stress trigger? Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. We're all nodding here, pretending that no, we've never been there. Oh, you've been there. So when Otto freaks out because his heart is not coming back down and you can see his heart is racing and he knows he needs to sit quietly by himself for a few minutes and let this pass without a crowd. How many of you said, holy God, I've been there? Have you been there? We've all been there. Did Tom Hanks do a good job expressing the I'm going to use an inappropriate word here. Did he express visibly what you would feel physically in that scene?
Yeah, and I'd love to add, I was a paramedic for 30 years. And this is just crazy. I had a cardiac arrest at a ball field, and it was a 13-year-old boy who I come to find out a couple years later passed from sudden cardiac arrest from HCM. But I had been seeing doctors and not being diagnosed correctly. And I showed up in the ER with this patient doing CPR, intubated him and everything like that. And one of the ER docs pulled me aside and said, "What is wrong with you? You look horrible." I was beet red, drenched in sweat, and I was still short of breath. So he made me sit down, and 30 minutes later, I was still short of breath. My pressure was through the roof. And it was interesting that someone was able to physically see those signs in me where I didn't think I was expressing them out publicly.
Note to my staff real quick. Joe Caruso is, I think, in the attendee area, and he's supposed to be joining us here. If we can elevate him to panelist, he's under Teresa and Joseph. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry, Mike. Joe just is such a good storyteller. We thought we would want him in here, so we'll see if we can't get him in. So seeing it from an EMT point of view, living it yourself, and then watching Tom Hanks, how dead on was he?
How did what?
How dead on was his depiction?
Absolutely perfect. That whole, that feeling of, that impending doom and that near syncope that was coming on. Everything, closing in on him, losing his hearing. That's all spot on.
How many of you can relate to the sound change in that scene?
Totally. Yeah, I wanted to add something very relevant to what Mike just said. And I had an episode at a gym. This was just before I went into heart failure. Maybe I was starting to go into heart failure, where I was on an elliptical trainer. And I've often had semi-syncopal episodes where I've been able to kind of crawl my way into somewhere so nobody could see me. And then I recovered quickly. This one was really, really different. And it was very sudden. And I remember thinking, there is like an elliptical bike next to me. And I literally started to pass out. And I thought, the first thought was, nobody can see this happen. I don't want anyone to see this happen. And I fell onto the elliptical bike. And somehow I kind of just came back to, and I just kind of put my head down between my knees and waited till I recovered. I had to go sit in the changing room. I still wasn't right. And I left. And my ICD was 0.7 seconds away from firing. It was VT. And even at that moment at that gym, I just thought, I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anyone to see this. And I just felt that so he played it so well, and it is such a challenging thing that we go through, having this invisible illness and not wanting to be burdens and not, wanting to disclose what's going on inside.
I'm going to pivot for a minute here because I liked the unsaid aspects of Otto's personality and how I get to talk to all of you guys all the time, right? So my whole world is like HCM patients. I don't know that there's other people out there because I spend most of my time with you guys. But there's some traits that we have about organization and controlling certain issues and wanting to be in control of certain aspects of our life. I'm a little guilty myself, but I think it's because we can't control our own hearts. And because our hearts are a little uncontrollable, it makes us really question stability and crave some levels of stability in parts of our life that we can bring it into. And that was the sub message for me. Did anybody else pick that up? Kevin shaking his head. Kevin, you want to comment on that or?
Well, I think the first time I put the two together was when we were at the showing of A Man Called Otto, when you talked about the control issue. I never saw it before, but I'm a lawyer, a trial lawyer, and I have to control everything. And I really never put it together with this whole thing. It's just amazing,
I think they did a masterful job of, the parking permits have to be on your rear view mirror because that's where they belong, and he can control that. And he can control the recycling, and he can control these things that make his life seem a little bit more manageable. Dr. Alex, patient Alex, do you maybe see that maybe some career choices that you made maybe gave you a better sense of control?
Yeah, I tried to do something else, but it gave me the ability to be really good at understanding something that I didn't understand why I was the one that had to have this problem. So it's like, well, if I'm gonna have it, then I need to master this. So then for the last, it's been 20 years, I've been studying HCM and med school research, basic science research, residency, fellowship, all focused very much on this. And so, yeah, I mean, it gave me the option to control my destiny in terms of my career. And I feel like I own my patients. Like I think about their echoes and their gradients and like how they feel all the time. And so I guess that is my
Fantastic. I think Joseph is going to join us, so we're going to go for just another minute or two here. Paul, was there anything particularly moving in the movie that really resonated with you that you wanted to bring up?
Well, I've actually seen it twice. I saw it the first time. And when I saw it the first time, I guess my reaction was, I think they just picked out the name of a heart disease because they needed it to fit into the script. I haven't read the book, so I have no idea how it's developed in the book. And then I went to see it again today because I had heard some of your comments and I thought to myself, gee, I didn't really see that. I mean, I think the control, he kind of wanted to have that kind of control throughout his life before he was even symptomatic. In the first half of the movie, he really wasn't that symptomatic. Even up to the time he retired. When he retired, he's climbing 2 big sets of stairs at a pretty quick rate to go to his retirement party. He's taking the ladder out of the garage, big heavy ladder, and doesn't seem to bother him at all. So he didn't seem to be symptomatic. And so I didn't really tie it in.
Maybe he was just having a good day, not a bad day.
Yeah.
Well, but there are a number of those. I mean, he's running alongside the UPS truck when he's driving through the area. There are a number of those things. I was looking for him today to see if he was looking symptomatic, and he really didn't look at it until the last maybe 20 minutes of the movie or so, at least to me.
So in those times towards the end of the movie where he has more subtle symptoms, I love the grabbing the door jamb in the closet, that moment. How many of you have had the moment? Yeah, we've all had the moments. Joseph joined us late. So sorry, we had some problems getting you on here. Can we hear you, Joseph? Can you hear us, Joseph? We're connecting to audio. Okay, we'll get him here in a second. So I definitely encourage you guys to come join us in California if you haven't seen the movie yet. And we'll do a little session like this afterwards, and we'll bring out the different scenes and how they resonate with us in our own experience. I'm really sad that it looks like Joseph's audio is becoming a problem. Can you hear us, hon? No, Joseph can't hear us. Well, if you haven't heard Joseph's story before, I encourage you to go to HCM Academy and look at the patient stories, because Joseph does an amazing job of explaining his life with HCM and a concomitant diagnosis of amyloidosis on top of it. But he was great and great live. Oh, Joseph? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes, I can hear you.
We're the only audio problem of the day. Oh, I sound like I'm at helium through your microphone.
Lowering it down. Go ahead.
I'm just going to give you the floor for a minute and tell me what you thought of Otto.
Yeah, connection's really bad for some reason. I'm getting every other word. Yet I sat here and watched for the past 45 minutes, and was clear as a bell.
We can hear you fine.
Okay.
So if you want to give us some of your thoughts on Otto, we will give you the floor for 45 seconds.
Okay, so, I obviously, I enjoyed the movie. It affected me a lot, even afterwards, days later. It's been 3.5 years since my septal myectomy surgery, and I'm one of the fortunate ones. I was very bad, very, very bad leading right up to my surgery. And weeks after my surgery, I was doing amazing, and my life had significantly changed. The quality of my life was amazing. And what that movie reminded me, really reminded me how bad my life was, and how I kind of forgot. Maybe I just don't want to remember how much I suffered and how bad it was for me. But that brought back a lot of memories. On the way home in the car, I was very emotional. I was just overcome with gratitude how wonderful my life has become since having the surgery, getting on the right medication, most importantly, being my condition managed by the right doctors at Morristown Hospital. So, the movie was kind of just a sad movie to me up until the end, and you had a little bit of hope, and it ended on a good note.
It definitely
It just
did.
stirred all kinds of emotions.
All right. Well, I thank you all for joining us on Otto. If you're in California, we still have a couple seats ready and available for San Bruno, the South San Francisco area for Friday night. Tomorrow I get on a plane and I go. It's the end of Heart Month and we're wrapping it up there. We might do one in DC. We're going to see what March holds for us. We're going to try to do that. But I thank you all for joining and sharing your insight on Otto, and a big thank you to whoever put it in the script. And Tom, call me, dude. We need to talk. And we will be seeing some more of you soon. So thank you so much for joining. And we're going to go back on to hopefully keeping some good time here. Don't we have like the best community? Like they just jump in whenever we need them and they're there and then they're gone. And thank you so much. Okay, so that's our Otto. I'm not going to play this video right now because we don't have time. I'll play it at the conclusion of the night because I want to announce something pretty big and pretty special. And we're going to be seeing some anatomic carvings in just a moment. I want to pay tribute to a dear friend, Dr. William Clifford Roberts. He is a force of nature. He's currently 90 years old. He lives in Texas. He had 2 jobs in his life. He worked at the NIH and then he moved to Baylor, and those were his 2 jobs that he had. He's a cardiologist, but he specializes in cardiac pathology. And as I went on to have my heart transplant, I wanted to keep it, and I wanted it to be cut in a specific way so people could actually see HCM like they see it in an echocardiogram. There's one guy who knows how to do that cut, and it's Bill Roberts. And over the years, he has helped us unravel mysteries of families who've lost loved ones to HCM. So I wanted to honor his memory and his contributions to the HCM community as a whole and his entire body of work throughout his life. So there's a new feature on our website called the William Clifford Roberts HCM Heart Collection. The plastinization services are courtesy of Drs. Carlos Baptista and William Frank from the University of Toledo. So this is part 1 of the process to prepare 2 hearts. We're going to show them today. There's going to be more videos added to the collection when we have a little time to do it and tell their stories better. So the first story we're going to see is Victoria Wyatt's heart. So you are going to see an anatomical dissection of a heart now. If it's not bloody, it's not gory, it's quite interesting. So without further ado, I give you our team. Dr. Roberts. So Victoria is a very unique
Victoria.
individual because she collects animal hearts and she keeps them in her home on her mantle.
Wow.
So she really wanted to come meet you in person, but logistics didn't quite work out. So Victoria, here's your mantelpiece.
Hi, Dr. Roberts.
Hey, Victoria.
Okay, Dr. Roberts, the show is yours.
No, it's in here.
That is true.
Well, opening your heart, it's sort of a blind cut. I can't see where we're going. So if it's not perfect, forgive me.
You are always forgiven because you can do it better than anybody else can.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Now this cut is a direct, this is the right ventricle. This is the surface of your heart. And this is the ventricular septum. And this is the mitral valve. And this is the left ventricle posteriorly. So this is how the heart is sitting in your chest. So this septum gets a bit thicker as we go down. But this is, you had a myectomy before the transplant. So there's a dip here, and that's where they took muscle out. So that's why this area here is thinner than it is down here, because this is where the muscle was taken out. That's a pretty thick heart. Oh, thanks.
This looks like
This ventricular septum, golly.
3.5.
That's about 3.3 there. And right below the aortic valve is 1.4.
Wow.
Did you get better after the myotomy?
For a very short period of time.
So do you remember what your gradient was between left ventricle and aorta?
I don't remember all
82 to 91. I have your records here. And
that's peak.
Her peak exercise was 91.
Wow.
We're gonna look at your right ventricle now.
Yeah, now this is the ICD down here that's causing a little resistance.
Your lead's still in there.
Really?
Okay, so this is your ICD that's really impacted into the apex of the right ventricle. Now the good news is your coronary arteries look great. See, this probe flows through there with no resistance. So what is your age, Victoria?
32.
And your transplant was 2 years ago?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
That COVID time, it just kind of disappears. So she's 2019. Fall of 2019, yeah.
This is the view you want to have exposed.
Yeah. So the papillary muscles here are quite thick too, aren't they?
Yes. And it's scarred. See that white?
Yep.
Here you can really see where they took out muscle from here to here.
Wow.
Well, you needed that new heart.
This was not going to work well to keep you here for 80 years. That was Victoria's heart, and now we're going to see Lori's heart. Lori and Peachy. That's your girl. And you have some leads still in there too. Yes. That's Saba, Dr. Robert's assistant. Lovely lady. Lori, what was your EF at the end?
32.
Okay. So you did. That's what I was wondering, because that looks like it's dilated out a little bit. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. Let's see what she has to tell us. Ooh.
Okay.
Very different.
Very different.
Very, very different.
And the ventricular septum here is actually thinner than the left ventricular free wall, and all that white, and so is the wall at the apex of the ventricle. This is artifact here. This is just thrombus. That can
Get a
be
little bloody in there.
washed out.
We'll clean that out.
Now this is where your ICD was. Oh my. See that right ventricle is sitting in this.
Wow.
I'm not down to the valve. Okay.
There you go.
So the ventricular septum extending.
Look at that scar.
Yeah, this is right ventricular free wall. This white is scar. I don't know if you can see that.
We'll hold it up for her.
Okay.
But
that's
you
a
were
lot.
very, very scarred on both the right and left ventricle. That's a little
Yeah.
unusual.
Very, despite the coronaries being wide open. That's the good news.
No coronary artery disease. Yeah, you.
That's good news. Okay, that's post-mortem. Well, post-transplant.
Post-transplant,
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
She's still here.
Sorry.
Okay. But this whole septum, look, all of that is scarred. See that?
Yep.
That's really a scarred septum. So your ejection fraction must have been way down.
Yeah, she's hit like 30s at the end.
Yeah. That's
Which part of that do you see as being the genetic part, with it being the right and left? Or is it the HCM that is making the right and the left be?
Yeah, this is all HCM. I mean, it can no two hearts are exactly the same in this condition.
My bad. I hit a button. Let me push him to the end again. Sorry.
A lot of scarring here. Virtually no scarring except palp muscle in your heart, Victoria.
Is that the difference in our ages? I mean, I'm 62.
No, I don't think so. You can have this much scarring in a 20-year-old, 15-year-old.
Just disease process? The
the variability of disease process?
Yeah, that's the way I would conclude.
So I am really honored to have had both Victoria and Lori share their hearts with the HCMA so that we can protect these hearts, plasticize them, and use them as teaching tools in the future. 4 hearts are coming back to us in April. There are a few more that we will show you at a later date. And we have currently 4 in-house and a few more coming. So my sincere thanks to Dr. Roberts for his contributions and services of sectioning these hearts in such an amazing way. Okay, so we're down to a couple last slides. We're coming into the end of HCM Awareness Day, people, and I'm heading for my bedding soon. Save the date, October 21st, 2023. Registration will open on April 1st for our first in-person meeting. Honestly, since my transplant, really, we have not done an HCMA annual meeting in many, many years. I was going to bring him back after I got better. And then this thing called COVID happened. Don't know if you heard about it or not. So this is going to be our first time back as a full day symposium. It will be start early in the morning, 8 a.m. Ish on October 21st. And we're going to go through till 4:30 at night. And then we're going to break. And the evening will be the Unmask the Great Masquerader Ball. So you can come learn during the day, take a little breather in the afternoon, and come back in your party dress or suit, whatever you choose. Pop on a mask and join us for the Unmask the Great Masquerader Ball. So please mark your calendars now. We're going to have talks on the latest in clinical management, clinical trials. We're even going to have clinical coordinators on premises for you to talk to. We are going to tell you about advances. We're going to tell you how to participate meaningfully in shared decision making and how to effectively tell your story. We're going to bring that workshop out to you there. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of other topics we're going to cover: legislative advocacy, disease pathways, treatment, all kinds of different things are going to be covered. The agenda will be out in April. And I want to take the last few minutes to talk about the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. We spent all morning talking about it and featuring a story of Jillian Blair and her very brave mother, Amy, who came to tell her story. We also told the story of Derek Armstead, a gentleman taken way too young at the age of 29, but had a few questions been asked, he would have been alive. In Jillian's case, if a family history was shared a little differently and healthcare providers knew the questions to ask, there's a really good chance that she would have had an ICD in place at the time of her cardiac arrest on April 21st, 2022. So we want to make sure that all children have the ability to have their hearts screened through well-child examination. And we want all student athletes to be protected. And we want to share information about cardiac arrest risks, HCM and otherwise. We want to ensure professional development tools are in place in every state so that every healthcare practitioner can learn about HCM, ARVC, dilated cardiomyopathy, channelopathies, Marfan syndrome, and other diseases that can cause sudden death in young people. So if you want to learn more about the Act, I encourage you to join, go to the website. You can get the full language of the language that we're proposing, which has been vetted by the American Heart Association, and they have given us their endorsement. And maybe endorsement's not the right word. They've given us approval to move forward, and they will support us. We'll put it that way. We've also been in talks with the American College of Cardiology, and I expect to hear from them shortly with their authorization as well. So why are we doing this? Because out of the 329 million people in the United States, 22% of them are under the age of 18. That means there's 72,000 children that can have well-child exams that we could talk to through their doctors and educate their doctors on what signs and symptoms that they're looking for. These are the prevalence numbers of HCM and the other diseases that we're looking for in the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. And here's the total number of patients that they would be able to find if we were to look through all of those people and look at the prevalence numbers as they are. So we have the possibility of finding as few as 3.5 million people who need cardiac care and as much as 10.5 million. So we're going to be moving fast and furiously towards getting the HCM Act enacted in every state. So we're seeking the introduction of bill numbers in both houses in the state level. We're looking for this to get to the proper committees. We're looking for it to go to the floor for a vote, and we want laws. We want lots and lots and lots of laws, because every time we pass a law, we're impacting thousands of families every year. And we have the opportunity to find people in time and get them to the right treatments, so we can not only save a life from cardiac arrest, but improve a life from symptoms and the burden of symptoms from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. This does not happen in a silo, people. We have an amazing team here at the HCMA. And last year we had over 100 volunteers dedicate nearly 3,000 hours to help us in our mission. Our staff is phenomenal, even though 2 of them are down sick this week. Bad week to get sick at the HCMA, but we got their back because we planned this well, and I think we executed it beautifully. So thanks to the entire team. Thanks to our board of directors, and thank you to Amit Kalia for his service as chair. We look forward to having him on the board and promoting Gordon Fox to our board chair for the next few years, we hope. And there'll be some new names joining the board shortly. You'll learn about them soon. Last opportunity to hit that QR code and donate now. Every penny counts, and we appreciate you for donating or signing up to be a volunteer for the HCMA. I am going to go back and I'm going to let you all watch the video that I didn't quite have time for. This was our post-Otto HCM Act. We played a similar one at the beginning of the session. So if you came in at 6:15, you saw it. That's my beautiful girl, Becca. So you've got to see my niece, Stacy, today in her HCM story. You got to see my nephew, John, here for Drill Dr. Hart, and my daughter, Rebecca, is on screen now. So here is the piece created by Josh Green. Thank you, Josh, for all of your amazing service. Another big-hearted member of the community, giving back with their talent. So thank you, Josh. And here is our last presentation of the night. I will stick around and answer some questions for those who want to hang out a few minutes longer. This is about 7 minutes. I'm sorry, this is the 12-minute version. This is the longer one. I hope you enjoyed the movie, and now maybe you understand the t-shirt just a little bit better. We're not all grumpy like Otto, but it's a great conversation starter, and please wear your t-shirts so people will start to understand what HCM is, and maybe Otto can help teach some people a little bit about our community. So Tom Hanks, call me, dude, we need to talk. But until Tom calls and we get that national portfolio of HCM understanding and awareness, the t-shirts are what we're going to live on right now. So use those t-shirts. So we want to tell you about a new program that we have here at the HCMA. It's called Drill Dr. Hart. I'm going to fast forward through this because you heard this already. Sorry, I forgot that this is that one. So we're going to go into 5 minutes. Here we go.
My name is Jacqueline Green, and I live in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was diagnosed with HCM at the age of 47. I wasn't sure how it was going to affect my life. I was going on just as I normally had. I just decided that I needed to find a cardiologist that I was seeing regularly, but I wasn't sure how it was going to change my life. Once my son was diagnosed, I knew that my husband had no issues in his family. I kind of figured it was probably me.
My name is Jeremiah Green, and I'm from Elizabeth, New Jersey. I was diagnosed with HCM at 17 years old. My diagnosis for me was heartbreaking because for a time in my life I felt like handicapped.
So I'm Gian Duddy, I'm from Montville, New Jersey. I'm 21 now, and I was diagnosed at 8. Being told I had HCM was, again, a weird feeling because I was 8, so I was like, okay, I don't know what you're telling me, like, this doesn't really matter much to me. But again, as I got older and I kind of settled with the diagnosis, it put into perspective, like, what it really means.
My name is Rebecca Salberg, and I am born and raised in Rockaway, New Jersey. I was found gene positive at 7, and then I was diagnosed at 10. Life as a kid was always a little bit different, you know, because knowing our family history already, we already knew I was most likely going to test gene positive and have that diagnosis. And then when it ultimately came up, it came up. But, you know, I couldn't run on the field with the kids. I couldn't keep up with the kids, which is a little challenging, especially being a young one, you know, first in first grade, second grade, and kindergarten. You're just playing around like crazy, but I just couldn't keep up. And that was when my mom started to realize we might have some HCM in there.
HCM, or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, abbreviated HCM, is our most common genetic heart disease. The vast majority of patients with HCM have a life expectancy that is normal or near normal.
Historically, the prevalence of HCM was quoted as about 1 in every 500 people worldwide, but with better diagnosis and better technology to diagnose it, we think that it may be as many as 1 in every 250 people worldwide.
So, it's often called the great masquerader because the symptoms of HCM are the same of almost any other cardiac condition.
But the most common symptoms are shortness of breath, effort intolerance, fatigue, dizzy, lightheaded, anginal type chest pain. So they may have chest pain that sounds like a heart attack.
You also need to know your family history, because the presence of HCM, the hint for its presence, might be that tragic sudden death of this cousin that happened 10 years ago at the age of 25 when they were out running, playing, whatever. In other words, our hint to the presence of this inherited heart disease that can run in the family may be in the family history.
It's important to know your personal history and your family heart history so that you can rule out if this is something that you have.
I think knowing about their family's heart history, again, is insanely important because it's not something that people think about. Your heart isn't something you're aware of all the time, so you might not know if something's wrong. And I think having that told to you ahead of time so you can prepare and plan your life the best you can will help you just going forward.
So what is the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act? This is not a bill that is only for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. There are many disorders, including hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, dilated cardiomyopathy, arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy, long QT syndrome, Brugada syndrome, channelopathies, and congenital defects that affect young people. The Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act trains medical professionals on what these diseases are, make sure that we are looking for these diseases in the well child examination, as well as the sports participation physicals required by many states and jurisdictions. And it is really important for people to know their family heart health history so that they can share that information with their chosen healthcare provider, and appropriate testing can take place to determine if that individual and that family is at risk.
Finding out I had HCM at the age of 7 definitely gave me an advantage to understand my future. Right? If the HCM Act is passed, that gives the opportunity for life. It's 1 in 300. The numbers used to be 1 in 500 when I was diagnosed. So now we know it's more prevalent. Think about how many kids could be saved, right? We have the sudden cardiac arrests on the field when they're doing sports. We can avoid that. And if we can avoid that and save lives, that is more than enough reason that this should be enacted.
The HCM Act will give parents a heads up, give them time to find somebody, and realize that they're not playing the normal game, that they're in a field that's much different than everybody else is in. And it's going to forewarn them, as opposed to us finding out, the hard way.
While we're looking specifically at children and young athletes, the information derived in these clinic appointments will also be able to be used for the parents and siblings of these individuals. So if we find one person with a genetic heart disease, we have the opportunity to impact the entire family, from grandma and grandpa on down to infants. So understanding how we can get access to these families is critical.
The HCM Act is a really special piece of legislation that has the power to improve health outcomes in HCM patients, and in fact all patients who are young with cardiovascular health conditions.
It's very important that we convey the message to our communities and to our lawmakers that these types of heart diseases should be paid attention to, invested in, and that we should commit resources to it.
Genetic testing in the HCM Act, I think we can help prevent and create a different path for a lot of young people, whether they're active or not. That could potentially change their future.
So if we have the opportunity to have a meaningful dialogue with the doctor, the patient, the parent about family heart health history, we're going to be able to identify more families and save more lives.
Okay, boys and girls, it's down to just the diehards here. So I thought I would just take a moment and go over a couple of questions. If anybody had a burning desire to ask a question, now they can do so as well. But I'm gonna do rapid fire, and if I can't answer your question, we'll get back to you later with an answer. Okay, so I don't remember what the composite of all these age groups are. I don't know what question that is. So somebody asked a question when we were talking about clinical trials about, do we anticipate that all of these novel therapies will need REMS, risk evaluation and mitigation systems, like we have for Camzyos? And the answer is definitely maybe, and definitely maybe not. We don't know yet. It's going to be based on the outcomes of the trial and what the FDA is willing to do with the data and how strong the data is and what the potential consequences would be. So I would say it's probably on the table as possibility, but nobody's really going to know until which time we actually bring something to market. So some discussion group questions. Is there a discussion group for parents of HCM patients? We have done them periodically, but we don't have it as a standing group. We're going to be bringing in a couple of different periodic groups. There's going to be one. I'm looking, if any of my docs are still here, there's going to be an interesting question for who wants to join me for this one. We're going to have a discussion group about sex and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, because a lot of people ask, and it's one of those, oh, are we going to talk about that? And I'm saying, hell yeah, we're going to talk about that, because a sex life is part of your life. So we are going to have like a 2 or 3 time a year group on that topic. I will be helping run that one, but I'd like some backup on that. Maybe from a guy. I think that would be nice. So that's one. Groups for parents. There are groups that are general discussion groups that are kind of meant for everybody. So caregivers are welcome to join these groups as well. And as the population of the groups grows, we limit them to 25 people per group. Once we start maxing out on group size, then we'll kind of break down and add some more groups. It is not a minor commitment to put your time in as a discussion group leader. We train them. There's some training involved and some labor involved with the marketing, et cetera. So we kind of want to be building up these groups. And when there's a natural break off, we will build more groups. We will not have a drug specific group. We may add in more discussion groups on medical management, because it's going to be getting a little bit more complicated, but we've been asked to have a Camzyos group. That's not the way that we feel we should be doing this. We should be talking about all medical therapies together, and there are differentiations between how each one is handled. So we'll be adding those. We did have a teens group. We have to find a better platform for them, because they don't come to Zoom rooms and they don't have Zoom meetings. So we're looking for some other technology where we can engage with teens and young adults. So we've got that coming. Stuart, I just answered that question. So we're not going to have a very drug specific discussion group, but myosin inhibitors as a bigger group are there, but we want to wait until we have more than one approved, because that just is a little bit easier. Where is the best sort for obtaining a collection of HCM patient stories? On our website. They're all there on the website. And if you're from industry and you have a question about how to look at these stories, then you need to call the office and we can discuss that on a one-on-one basis. But ran on 4hcm.org. And if you want to share your story, you can sign up as a volunteer, and you can, I'm going batty here, people. I'm running like 45 minutes late, and My brain's been going since 8 this morning. You can go to our website and sign up to be a volunteer. Your brother passed away suddenly at 42 without any symptoms. Autopsy showed HCM. I go yearly for echoes. Should my daughter be checked? That's a very difficult question to answer because there's a lot of variables there, Pamela. I'm very sorry for the loss of your brother, but I would encourage you to call the office and we can help go over some records and look at some data and make sure that the doctors who are screening you are looking at all of the right features in your heart and give you some information on that. So again, my condolences for your loss. So conversational topic, social media post regarding the CA, the majority of comments. Yeah, Julie, good question. So it's not a controversial topic. Oh boy, here we go. I'm glad it's late in the night and viewership is a little bit lower right now. So the question is that there have been a lot of comments from less than reputable sources, I'm going to say, that the increase that they're seeing in sudden cardiac arrest in young athletes is tied to the COVID vaccine. So these are people who were not paying attention for the past 35 years. Sudden cardiac arrest from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy has been in the news and been written about for thousands of years. Where did we get a marathon from, people? Philippides ran the marathon, 26.2 miles, and dropped dead. So there's a long history here of sudden death in athletics. So making the connection that oh, this is because of the COVID vaccine is irresponsible in my view. And I've gotten into a couple of Facebook arguments on the topic and told them, well, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy has been here longer than COVID and the COVID vaccine. And, you don't win internet fights. So there you go. So I think it's all a bunch of nonsense. Have I found it challenging? Yes, but I will use my Jersey vernacular at 9:30 at night when I'm exhausted. I just am aggravated by them, to be honest, because they're trying to make something out of nothing. And in fact, oh, okay, I'm going here, people. It's late and I probably should shut my mouth right now, but I'm going to go here. On one particular network, Fox News, one of their people, I'm not going to call him a reporter, I don't know what to call that title, but gave a list of European athletes who have died suddenly after they got the COVID vaccine. Well, one of those European athletes happened to be a kid from Pennsylvania who was playing Frisbee with his dad in the yard and autopsy positive for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So when you know the truth behind the stories, you tend to not listen to certain people very much because they're lying to try to make a point. Why would you claim a young man from Pennsylvania was a European athlete and that he died from the COVID vaccine when it's very clear he died from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy? That's cruel. And that family shouldn't have to endure listening to that nonsense. And they just piss me off. Sorry. There you go. Are you going to consider Zoom registration for the annual meeting? No, I'm sorry. We are not going to do a virtual component. It's very expensive to run these meetings, and to add a virtual component literally doubles the cost. So there will be no virtual content this year. We have a space capacity of 300 for the meeting. So when it opens, you'll want to register early. Okay. Lots of rah-rahs to Matt Martinez. One of your patients is very happy. Drove to meet Martinez from Maryland. Changed his life. You're going snowboarding now. You're doing black diamonds. Be careful, stay hydrated, and have fun. Not a question, but a comment. If the gene therapy works, wow, that's exciting. Could not agree more. Sherry, hello, Sherry. Big thanks to Lisa. It is a lot different than 2004, Stuart, but you've been here for the whole ride, and I'm glad you're still here with us. It's been 20 years we've been talking. So thanks for joining. Thanks for helping you in 2011. That led to your diagnosis and open heart surgery in 2012. Hi, Steve. Glad you're here. Glad we helped. Deborah, you want to speak to me about a project? Please call the office and set up an appointment after we get back from the American College of Cardiology Conference, which will be around March 7th or March 8th. I'm happy to discuss your project with you. No comment, question. The groups have been discussion groups have been super helpful for myectomy in process, along with the Center of Excellence, have been most valuable service the HCMAs can provide. Thanks to all the group leaders. You are welcome, Maya. Glad you enjoyed. And I'm sorry I can't pronounce your last name. You're here thanks to me. Thanks, Stuart. Linda, good question, but go back to your sick bed and rest. We'll talk about it when you get back. Not a question from Robin, but she's happy for Marlin and Dr. Hazday. Great. Brian, thanks for sharing Marlin's story. Why is it that local cardiologists seem to know so little about genetics like HCM? I don't know, Brian. We're working on it. HCM Academy. Not lots of happy comments to Marlin and to Dr. Hazday. Casey, if you're still here, let's talk about this offline because it gets a little specific. Deborah, why don't they have classes for patients with HCM to help with nutrition? That's not true. Many HCM centers offer nutrition support in classes, and that is a service of many hospital programs that we work with. Just if you have not been offered dietary services, I would ask. And Casey, you want to know more about Camzyos. So give us a call in the office and we'll help direct you to resources. And we've run many big-hearted warrior webinars where we've done a lot of content on Camzyos, mavacamten. We've talked about aficamten. We've talked about the mechanism of myosin inhibitors. There's a lot of content out there, people. I've been on screens way more than I should. So please join us on those. And with that all said and all these questions answered, ladies and gentlemen, HCM Day 2023, it's a wrap. I want to give a big shout out to our entire team. Stacy, Julie, Ross, who've been here all day and helped set up. Thank you. Elena and Linda, who got sick this week, get better. Liv, thank you for going through PowerPoint hell with me. And now you're coming to California with me tomorrow. Well, that happened fast. Elena was supposed to go, but she's sick. Sabrina, thanks for all this support. To the rest of the team, Carolyn, for getting you all your t-shirts. Hopefully most of them got there in time. If not, don't blame Carolyn, blame the post office because they're darn slow. And to all of our volunteers, to our discussion group leaders, to our docs coming in today, to Dr. Roberts, to all of you who work every day in your jobs to help improve the lives of those with HCM. We appreciate you. And we are here to fight the good fight and get some laws passed and help patients get to diagnosis, treatment, and management. Thanks to our sponsors, all of them. So I'm going to bring them all in again. Bristol Myers Squibb, thank you for your partnership, not only on HCM Day, but in every way that you're partnering with us and helping and supporting and listening and bringing us to the table to have those tough discussions. Cytokinetics, thanks for your continued support. And we're looking forward to seeing what you guys got coming up in the next year or so. We're excited for you. Tenaya, wow, just mind-boggling where we're going to be able to go for some families with HCM, with myosin binding protein C mutations, and BioMarin the same. There are other companies working on other genetic therapies for HCM. You'll be learning about them soon. Thank you to Imbria for being here tonight. Thank you for Whit from Tenaya for being here tonight. I'm going to forget somebody I know, but we'll get there. Thanks to our partners at Pfizer and to all of our partners in our partnership advocacy programs. Thanks to DefibTech and Michael Papali for stepping up and helping with the Dr. Heart Challenge. Please get out there and do your Dr. Heart challenges. Thank you one and all. To my nephew for showing up tonight, for my daughter for being in the video, for everybody who was giving their time in the video, the Duddy family, and others. There's other additions. You're going to see longer and shorter ones out on social media now. So thank you all and good night, because 9 hours of talking is enough now. Going home, going to bed. Thank you all. Be well. Thanks for hanging in there till the end. Y'all did a great job. Oh, Todd Feldman, you got here, Todd. You got here in time. You didn't think you would. So be well, and thank you all.